Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of the Dungeon of the Doctors of Doom Fantasy Football Podcast, where this week there's even more doctors, but hopefully less doom, as I, Alex the Shark Sparks, am joined by my three esteemed colleagues. That's right, we've got my usual co-host Mitch, our usual producer Vinny, and now our brand new sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please give it up for the man, the myth, the legend himself. He is a partner at the Golshani Lee LLP. Give it up for Chris Junebro Lee, everyone.
Yay!
Hey!
I can feel the excitement.
Call the sevens.
Does this mean
I'm excited, Chris. Maybe they didn't give you excitement, but I'm excited for you, buddy. But thank you so much. They are the new sponsors of the pod. We really appreciate having them here. They're great people, and they're great at what they do. So if you have any legal issues, they're the ones you should contact. All right, let's get on to some sports, boys and girls.
You know how it's like the ESPN with Cowboys or the Lakers? Does this mean we have to talk about the gummy bears for a mandated amount of time every episode?
No comment. All right, moving on to sports. Unfortunately, a lot more injuries in NFL this week. A lot of people on the injury report. We'll see what happens with them. But some people coming back. One of the big names coming back is Rice coming back for Rashee Rice coming back for the Chiefs. What impact do you guys think that's going to have? Do you think it's going to take him a while to ease back into things, or do you think he'll be ready to go? Because it's not like he's out of football shape. Like, he hasn't played in a while, but it's not like he wasn't playing due to injury. He wasn't playing due to suspension. So what do you guys think? Do you think he'll be a difference maker right away, or do you think it'll take him some time to work his way back into the offense? Because that offense, quite frankly, has been clicking the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I read a report saying that they are not putting him on a snap count when he comes back, and I can only imagine that they have looked. You know how we feel about the Chiefs. They have looked so good, and it hurts my soul because their offense, like you said, is clicking, and you get Rashee Rice back. I'm worried that Mitch might have been right about Patrick Mahomes, and that's hard for us to admit sometimes. Not Aaron Rodgers, but he might be right about Patrick Mahomes.
The Unkable Thursday night with Rodgers. Chris, do you have any thoughts about how Rashee Rice is going to fit in?
I just remember watching him last year, early season, right before he got injured, and he looked really freaking good. I remember watching him and thinking that he was going to be the number one wideout for the Chiefs and make a huge fantasy impact. So very, very interesting to have him back. I think he's not going to have like a huge game, but I think he's going to have a relevant impact moving forward.
Well, as someone who is starting him this week in many leagues, well, I got a little lucky that Zay is on a bye. I don't know if I would have been starting him over Zay or Waddle, but I think it's the nature of what happened. It's not an injury, right? So that's a huge thing. And then the first 3 weeks of the suspension, he was not allowed the facilities, but for the last 2.5, 3 weeks, if I know, he's been able to be there. And then last week it started running practices. So I think that's why he's ready to go. I think that's why the answer is I think he'll be ready to go early and not on a snap count. Whereas someone like, Godwin or whatever, they're going to put him on a snap count for a whole month, it looks like. But yes, I'm excited for Rice. I'm excited that the Mahomes offense is just airing it out. The type of throws that they're doing now is completely different. They're willing to air it out downfield. It's been so long since I've seen a Chiefs game where Mahomes just airs it deep and it just doesn't hit anyone during like the Tyreek Hill days. And there's been a lot of times you've been seeing him just throw it deep. So I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah, so I did mention I mentioned injuries, but it's specifically wide receivers. Quite a few wide receivers added to the injury report this week. Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, Chris Olave, Calvin Ridley, and then the big ones are going to be Puka Nacua. Now, he got hurt during the game. He did go back in, but he was a decoy after that, so we don't know what's going to happen with that, whether or not he's going to actually play. Emeka Egbuka, hamstring injury. Now, allegedly, it's not as bad as Mike Evans' injury that's kept him out for 3 weeks, but still, I mean, they just keep dropping like flies, to be honest, on that team. Jerry Jeudy almost got hospitalized based on a bad pass from Dylan Gabriel. So we'll see if he's going to play. And then the other big one, Marvin Harrison Jr. had a concussion in the game, so he's in protocol. Generally speaking, people in protocol miss at least 2 weeks. So we'll see how that looks. Oh, and then Quentin Johnston, another guy with a hamstring injury. Hamstring usually means 3 weeks. So 2 of those are on your team, Chris. So how you feeling about that, losing a couple of wideouts? But I guess on the positive note for you, your other 2 wideouts popped off finally. So
yeah, I was going to follow up and say, don't forget about my boy QJ, number 2. So, it's a huge bummer. And, with Marvin Harrison, it's even more of a bummer because Jacoby Brissett had such a good game, and he's actually standing in the pocket and delivering good strikes and throwing catchable balls. And, he went off for 300-plus yards. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will benefit tremendously if Brissett continues to play like that. And so I was excited to watch that. It's a huge bummer that he got the concussion when he did.
I don't know what it says, but the people in this podcast right now, we just had a wide receiver carousel. Chris dropped Waddle, which basically turned into Vinny dropping Olave, Alex picking up Olave, then Chris picking up Jamison Williams, and then Vinny taking McLaurin. We basically have played wide receiver roulette here because none of us will trade with each other probably.
You know what else is crazy? Hey, let me tell you guys, a fun player. That Lad McConkey guy that I was so down on that I got rid of him because, man, that guy sucks. What has Lad McConkey done lately? Let me just take a look at his stats here. Since leaving my team, little bastard, 5 for 7 with a touch, and then last week hits the century mark and gets a touchdown. Now, look, I get Miami's defense is awful, so I don't expect that to keep happening, but just now that Quentin Johnson is out, this is what he did his first game with Johnson gone. If this is what he's going to do during the weeks that Johnson's out, that's just so brutal, especially considering I'm still starting a guy that works at Big O Tires at wide receiver, so I can't catch a break.
I think he was part of the pretender, contender, or former offender segment, and we can review what we said about McConkey. But yeah, no, I thought it was going to be a Keenan Allen injury, not a Quentin Johnson injury. And then if Keenan Allen gets hurt on top of it, he's going to be a huge fantasy wide receiver.
Yeah, well, the reason I was willing to move from him, because I do think Keenan Allen historically gets an injury at some point during the season, but Quentin Johnson, he's a young player, he doesn't have an injury history, and since he was actually balling, I was like, okay, well that guy's, and when you look at the stat lines, McConkey was getting targets, he just wasn't doing anything with them. Look at 4 catches on 7 targets, 1 on 6. He wasn't putting up numbers, even 5 on 7 for only 39 yards. He wasn't doing anything. But last couple of weeks, he's gotten in the end zone. He hit the century mark, so we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But Lad is popping off at the right time. And Sylvie's on a streak. She beat you last week, Mitch. How's that feel?
Everyone would have beaten me last week. So. It's fantasy football is tough without Lamar Jackson. Okay, I'm not good enough to survive without him. Who do I play this week? Well, I don't know.
I guess we can go around the league. So let's go ahead and see if we can take a look at how games played out last week here. Let me see. Scores, fantasy game tracker. Go to week 6. All right, we'll start with the Penguins and Sharks. One team played ball and the other one did not. Baker's playing like an MVP. Jacobs balling out. Bourne, as long as Mac Jones is the QB, he's going to be a wide receiver 1 quality player. And Pinheiro being one of my best players, I'm glad I picked that kicker. Brake, on the other hand, got good performance from Hurts and nobody else.
Bourne's very interesting. If you look at his last couple of weeks, he's done it without the TD dependency that we need in this league. It's just impossible. Shanahan's making it impossible for any of us to figure out his fantasy team except for McCaffrey this year. It's just, you never know. You don't know week to week, but Bourne is very interesting. You might have, and I know you were going I think you drafted Pearsall in the draft. I know you might end up getting the number 1 wide receiver for San Fran, just not who you thought it was.
Yeah, but once Purdy comes back, I think they change it. It's really weird. I'm in a position where I don't want Purdy to come back because I have Bourne in multiple leagues, and Bourne with Mac Jones has been great. I think when Purdy comes back, it's not now. And obviously, there's other things that eventually Pearsall's going to come back from injury. Eventually, Ayuk gets off the PUP list, right? Like, things will change eventually, but yeah, for now, like, as a guy who's just waiting for CeeDee Lamb to come back, it'd be great if that could happen sooner rather than later. All right, moving on. Serial killers, as we mentioned, didn't drop the hammer, so to speak, but did get the job done. She got almost no production at quarterback. She would have been just as well off starting Stroud, who was on a bye. But she did get huge productions from A-Chain, McConkey, as I mentioned. Laporta, I think Laporta has quietly been a top 5 tight end this year after disappearing last year. And Jonathan Taylor had his worst game of the season, only putting up 19 fantasy points. So, yeah, Mitch, do you think it's just a matter of your team had an off day, or are you concerned after this performance? This is a couple of losses in a row for you, right?
Yeah, this is 2 in a row, which is unusual for
To
the
the
Avengers.
Sparks
But no,
family, whoop, 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 whoop.
yeah, to the Sparks family back to back. I've put up 120 points on you and Sylvie. No, I think this is, if I can win this week, I'll go 2-1 without Lamar. I haven't started the right wide receivers until recently, thanks to the other Sparks giving me Zay and the other person in this Discord or this thing giving me Waddle. So I haven't had those 2 wide receivers until the last couple of weeks, and I mean, no, Zay had a bad week this week with a couple fumbles or whatever, but they've scored more points. Waddle and Flowers have scored more points in the last 2 weeks for wide receiver than the rest of the team. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, and the Kincaid injury on Monday night really hurts. And my kicker injury Sunday afternoon when I'm at work really hurts. So I got like 4 or 5 guys in there that are, I just got to survive Lamar Jackson coming back, because if that happens, I think I have a good chance with Taylor and Lamar. But other than that, I don't know. I'm just holding on for dear life.
Another low-scoring matchup as we move on to Louise versus Cam here. Cam started a wide receiver who didn't play, but it didn't matter because he got 37 points out of Mahomes. Mahomes has just been a world beater. Yeah, I mean, again, Cam starting a guy that didn't play is very frustrating, especially when he has, oh man, DK Metcalf on the bench got 15. But yeah, still was more than enough for Luis. Brees Hall came back down to earth. I think the Jets, just being the Jets. But yeah. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was just laughing just at Cameron being 4-1-1 and could potentially be 5-1 with that team right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so funny. Haha.
I will
It's
say,
hilarious.
I think, so for those who've been listening long enough, last year we had the curse, right? Whoever I talked
two
about,
people.
I did Lord of the Rings intros. Whoever I talked about in the intro would do poorly the next week. I haven't done those this year for this season. For this season, it's the opposite. If we make fun of your player, specifically me, they pop off. I made fun of Derrick Henry last week, and he goes for $122. Now, no touchdowns, but still, I mean, breaking the century mark against a good Rams team in a game where his team was behind the whole game. So the fact that they were running the ball at all is kind of rare. Like, so Henry kind of got back on the horse, so to speak, after falling off for a couple of weeks there. But yeah, Cam gets another dub. Let's move on. Disappointing loss, to be sure, as our new sponsor here, the Gummy Bears, fall to Professor Chaos as they just keep rolling. Gummy Bears got some good performances. I mean, like, posted a score in the 90s. Really, the only letdown was Judkins, because Cleveland, unfortunately, I think they got a lot worse when they let Flacco go, which is hard to believe. But, yeah, I mean, you get nothing else to say there. You got let down by Judkins, and Matt also popped off with his Broncos D, basically, getting to play the Jets. That's really what was the icing on the cake. If you got an average, 10-point defense, this game's a lot closer.
Yeah, at this point, it looks like I'm going to have to score like 96 or above to win a game.
You got to get that fantasy D, bud. It's all about fantasy
I
D.
know.
Chris, you did go from Nolan to Matt the last 2 weeks. You might have played 2 playoff teams, so I'd keep your head up. I've been saying all year your team is very scary. So
Yeah, I mean, Chris has a bunch of young talent. I mean, Tedero McMillan, I was really high on him coming in as a rookie. He hasn't been able to do as much as we wanted him to, and even this week he didn't have a lot of catches, but he did finally get in the end zone. 2 touchdowns, which is great. And then I think the bigger relief, at least I would think, would be Brian Thomas Jr., who has just been abysmal with with Trevor Lawrence under center, and he finally pops off with a 90-yard game and a touchdown on 8 grabs. Like that's what you've been wanting to see from him when you draft him to be a wide receiver 1, and this is the first time he's given it to you. Now it sucks that it waited till week 6, but if you can get more performances out like this out of Brian Thomas Jr., you finally get that draft value where you took him. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that like some of my players have been underperforming. I wouldn't say anyone, maybe except Judkins, has been overperforming. So hopefully, Water finds its level and I get some good production out of Brian Thomas, and then Jaden Daniels hits his stride too, because he hasn't looked particularly good. I mean, he's good, he's strong, he's solid, but I was hoping he was going to be a top 3 QB. So hopefully, if he gets rolling, that'll help my team a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, in the games he's played, he's been fine. I mean, he missed 2 games, I think, is part of the issue. But yeah, no, for sure. Like you've got good performers here, and 90's normally good enough, but unfortunately wasn't. And it definitely wouldn't have been good enough in this match. I mean, I feel bad for Miles, but I don't think anybody's beaten Austin. Holy Hannah. With the exception of Calvin Ridley, who got hurt and left the game, his entire team popped off. Yeah, just absolutely wild. Brian Robinson had 170 rushing yards. Not scrimmage yards, rushing yards. And that wasn't the best running back on his team because he had Rico Dowdle, who had 183 rushing yards. So just the running backs that combined for over 350 yards on the ground. Not to mention they both had combined over 100 yards receiving, and they each had a touch. That's going to be tough to beat. His whole team popped off. JSN, again, had another great game. Did you guys know that week 4, JSN had 4 catches for 78 yards, and that's his worst game of the season? 78 yards is his worst game this year. That's how good he has been. This entire team just balled out. And honestly, if Rico Dowdle keeps this job, look out.
Yeah, Sam Darnold is doing pretty well up there.
Yeah, so much for the Vinny benching by week. What is it for Milrow? Whatever that was. The Rico Dowdle thing is pretty interesting. His only hole was his second running back. He was starting William Marks and Charbonnet most of the year. I think he even started Marks last week. And that filled his hole so fast. And the only thing that bothers me is Austin's always had a good team. It's going to be dependent on Drake May. Obviously, he scores 150. It's not going to be dependent on anything. But for the rest of the year going out, it's going to be the consistency of Drake May, which will put him into the playoffs or not. Because if you have the number 1 fantasy wide receiver and a top 3 fantasy running back, if not number 1, that's a recipe for success all the time. The only thing that bothers me though about this is I was working and then it was like, oh, revenge game, should have seen it coming. I'm like, who's the revenge game this week? Like who? And I'm like trying to think for the longest time. Like I can't figure this out. And then I look at Austin's team and I'm like, there's no way they're calling Dowdle versus the Cowboys a revenge game. Like I did not know Dowdle was on the Cowboys for 5 years. First of all, I didn't even know Dowdle was on the Panthers until 3 weeks ago. Let's be real here, okay? No one knew Dowdle was, and they're calling it a revenge game. I'm like, let's chill out here. He did a great job. Looks amazing. But Chuba comes back. They paid him all that money. I don't think you pay running backs that type of money in today's climate NFL and not give them carries. So I don't think this is sustainable for Dowdle. Austin's back to looking for a fill-in number 2 between the roulette and praying May is consistent. But this is a really good team.
So I had a question about that because I'm an invested Chuba owner in some other leagues. What do you guys think happens there?
Oh, it's going to be I'm sorry to cut off Alex and Vinny if they want to.
Go for it.
I think right away it's going to immediately be a 50-50 split. And then it might be one of those things like what's his name's offense where you just run Greg Roman, you just run 2 running backs the first half, and then whoever's the hot hand in the second half, they just give it to that guy. So it could be a Dowdle Hubbard split for a bit, and then whoever's running the ball better that day might see the significant carries. I think that's what it'll be until Hubbard can win his way back. Because the last thing I'll say, I'll let you is a lot of times head coaches have philosophies that you can't lose your job to injuries. And so they might, you know what I mean? They're going to probably force Hubbard back to 50-50.
I think it's a really nebulous situation. So, like, not to take away from what Rico did because it's super impressive, he's played arguably the 2 worst defenses in the league in Miami and Dallas. You're not going to get to play those teams every week, right? So, it may be different when you're playing against a better defense. So, which, I mean, again, he's not necessarily facing a great defense for a couple of weeks here. I think, yes, they paid Hubbard to be the guy. They gave him that big money to stick around, which is a weird contract in the first place, but whatever.
For sure.
They gave him that money to be their guy, and he was great last year, but this year he's just been kind of medium. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been great. I think you have to ride the hot hand. I understand that you don't want a guy to lose their job due to injury, But when you have a guy who has just been an absolute monster, he's been the best player on the field on either side of the ball, on either team, 2 games in a row, I don't see how you bench that guy. I think you have to roll with that. And then once he does come back down to earth, assuming he's human, if he comes back down to earth, then I think it's like Mitch says, and it's going to become more of a committee situation. Because, I mean, you're not gonna have a guy who's been absolutely rocking and rolling just go back to the bench. That's just not something you're going to do. And so, yeah, if you're a Chuba owner, that's really unfortunate. But, it'd be one thing if he had that one amazing game against Miami, and then in his revenge game against Dallas, he was terrible, or vice versa, right? He was just super medium against Miami, then had the revenge game where he blew up. It'd be one ththing. But the fact that he's done it in back-to-back games, and Chuba's still going to be like, whenever someone comes back from an injury, they're not 100% the first game back. It's not like I'm at, I'm too hurt to play, now I'm 100%. No, he's like, I'm too hurt to play, now I'm 80%, but that's good enough to go. Like, so he's going to be on a snap count or splitting anyway. So I think it's going to be Rico until Chuba gets healthy, and then we'll see, depending on whether or not Rico has come back down to earth.
Yeah, super interesting.
All right, so that was our around the league. Couple more NFL.
Do you know how many rushing yards he has in the last 2 games?
Yeah, like 390 or something like that.
Yeah, 390, 389, 390.
Yeah.
Like, some guys don't do the whole year on 400, 500 rushing yards.
I mean, now I'm just curious to see. Let's just go to rushing yards this season.
He's in a group of, I think, 5 running backs all time that have done what he's done in a 2-game stretch.
Rico Dowdle is currently 5th in rushing yards, and he has only started 2 games.
No, but look at him between him and Bijan. It's only like 14 yards out.
Yeah. Well, Bijan had a bye, but still, yeah. Like,
oh, that's true. I forgot. Sorry.
But yeah.
I will give it to Miles. Last year when I was trying to trade him, he was peddling Dowdle, and he said he's an RB1. And I said to Miles, yeah, but not on his team. But I will say, Miles got that scouting skill because he saw it in Dowdle last year.
Miles just gets the running backs the wrong year.
Well, that's what Vinny said. His strat is to draft people Miles had last year, right?
Yeah.
It's the best strat in the entire world. One day, everybody's going to get it. And it's probably the most genius take I've ever had.
Maybe it is. I'm so good. Poor Miles. He's our only viewer, too. It's the most...
All right. So, yeah. I did say that I had a couple other news and notes that I wanted to go over. So, real quick, let me go over that. Where did I have it? Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so did you guys know that only one quarterback has thrown no interceptions in their first 5 starts for a team and did not win a game? Do you guys know who that is? In the history of the NFL, only one quarterback has started the 5 games with the team in their first 5 starts for that team. So it doesn't mean they're a rookie, just to be clear. It's their first 5 starts with a team. So it could be someone who's changed teams. Yeah, first 5 starts, no picks, no wins. It's only ever happened once.
No picks, no wins. Wow.
Yeah. Who do you guys think it is? It's obviously someone this season, or else I wouldn't ask this question. Who do you think it is?
I'm trying to remember what's his name in Buffalo that threw like 3 on his first couple
Nathan
drives.
Peterman. Definitely was not Nathan Peterman.
Yeah. Thank you. No, that's a tough one, dude. I would need time to think.
It's got to be somebody who's really bad this year. So who's been bad and can't win games? Cam Ward's throwing interceptions. Who else has 5 losses? I don't know. That's a good trivia.
Justin Fields and the Jets.
Wow.
He is.
Wow.
Now, obviously, look, for those who saw it, this past week was abysmal. He had 45 passing yards, and he had negative 10 net yards. For those who don't know, sacks count against passing yards. So he had 55 yards lost in sacks and only 45 yards in passing, so his net was negative 10. Obviously, that was abysmal. But the other 4 games were not that abysmal. And in fact, the Jets might be, and not that this is a high bar, but they might be the best 0-6 team ever. They're so close in every game. 4 of their losses are by 1 score or less. 3 of those losses are by 2 points or less. They just cannot seem to get the win. But yeah, it's wild to me that stat is a real stat, that he's gone 5 starts with the team, no picks, no wins. They are 0-6, but they don't look like an 0-6 football team, but then you're like, oh, but it's the Jets, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. All right. One other not so fun fact, I guess. What team do you guys think has the most 3 and outs so far?
It is not the Jets.
It is not the Jets.
Browns?
It's the team that just can't seem to move the football.
The Titans.
Good guess, rookie QB, Titans, but no, they do not have the most 3 and outs.
Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills would be crazy if true, but no, it is not the Bills.
Browns.
I said the Browns.
Again, surprisingly not the Browns. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right.
Wow.
Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, they can't move the football. Dallas Goddard, which is like the number 1 fantasy tight end, they cannot move the football. They have the most 3 and outs so far this year. And it's interesting because like the Eagles like didn't look good the first couple of weeks, but they were winning, and it was like, well, they didn't look good because they didn't need to look good, you know. And like whereas the Chiefs also didn't look good for the first couple of weeks and they lost, but then like the Chiefs do look good now that they're winning, whereas the Eagles still look bad when they lose. They don't look good either way. So yeah, I think if I was an Eagles fan, I'd be concerned right now. This team does not look like a team that won a Super Bowl last year. Let's just call it like it is. But yeah, one last fun fact for those who saw it. You know, the Bucs are unfortunately down their top 3 wide receivers. They're basically playing with guys they happen to find, you know, sitting on the side of the road on the way to the game. Tez Johnson caught a touchdown, did a super cool flip. If you guys haven't seen it, you guys should go check it out. Dude did like a Simone Biles style like flip in the end zone. And then MVP's chance started. And he thought they were for him. This is a rookie on his first like catch of the year. I mean, granted, it was a cool touchdown. He thought MVP chance for him, so he asked Sterling Shepard. He's like, "Hey man, I haven't done much yet. Why are they chanting MVP?" And he's like, "Dude, they're for Baker." He thought the chants were for him and not Baker, who was just balling it up with nobody at wide receiver. So talk about being self-confident.
Speaking of MVP chance, if I asked you guys right now, who has the best odds at plus 175 to win NFL MVP, according to MGM, Sportsbook, and DraftKings?
Baker Mayfield.
It's got to be Mahomes.
Aaron Rodgers.
The people want Mayfield. The people want Mayfield, but Vegas doesn't.
Mahomes 175. Mayfield is second, tied with Allen at plus 300.
Oh, so he has moved up, yeah. Because last time I looked, it was Allen second, Mayfield third. So,
if you had to guess who's fourth, and it is a little bit of a shocker to me, who would you guess?
It's Rodgers.
No, Rodgers is like 11th or 12th at plus 7,500.
Is it Rico Dowdle?
Dude.
Oh, that's a good question. I only have the first
no, it's not. That was a joke. There's no way it's true. Bijan Robinson.
No, the first non-QB is not Bijan. And
whoa,
that's insane.
Yeah, that's why. Have they
what
seen
do you
his
mean?
games?
You guys got a lot of hate for JT.
Oh, that's true. Jonathan Taylor's great, but dude, Bijan Robinson's been unreal.
Oh yeah, but yeah, for sure. Bijan's got the same odds as Gibbs though for MVP. Just to let you know where they think about Bijan.
Oh,
wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
keep in mind when I'm picking MVPs, I'm not going based on fantasy. Like obviously in fantasy, I have Jonathan Taylor. It's not close. Dude's been insane.
Puka Nacua has the same odds for MVP as Bijan.
But like Bijan has just been, other than week 1, has just been fantastic on the ground and in the air. Like.
Christian McCaffrey is the second non-one with the plus 1,500. So.
Isn't Bijan on pace to break CJ2K's record?
Oh, I don't know about that. I would have to check. But anyways, back to the original question. Who would you surprisingly guess is fourth for MVP odds in the league behind Mahomes 1, Mayfield, and Allen tied for 2 and 3?
Herbert?
Good guess. He's fifth.
That's crazy.
Vinny or Alex want to play?
Oh, Stafford?
Good guess. He is. Okay, bad guess. Good guess. He is sixth. Oh, he's tied for fifth. I apologize with Herbert. Herbert and Stafford, great guesses. They're fifth and sixth. Who's fourth? Vinny, you want to ring it out?
I have no clue. Darnold?
Ooh, no, he's like ninth. It's Drake May has the fourth best odds for MVP right now.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, the guy is on
Herbert with great
absolute
guesses.
tear.
Yeah. Drake May plus 1,600. He is. Stafford's the 1,600 too. I apologize. I read this wrong. Stafford and May are tied for fourth and fifth. I apologize. So, but he's still fourth.
I'm so confused.
No. Okay. Mahomes won.
Yeah,
Mayfield.
welcome to the pod with Mitch, bro. This is what it's like every week.
No. Time out. There's nothing wrong. It's just they tied. That's it. I said Stafford and Herbert were 5 and 6. The only thing different is Stafford's tied with May. Mahomes is 1. Mayfield and Allen are tied for 2 and 3. May and Stafford are tied for 4-5, and then Herbert. I apologize.
Wow.
Yeah. So I should have rephrased the question as, guess who's tied for 4th with the best odds? That would be shocking. My bad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't go off. We go off fantasy more than other things, but like, I don't know. Like, look at Herbert's stats. Like, there's so many people with more passing yards with him. There's multiple quarterbacks with more touchdowns than him. He's already got 4 picks. We touched on that, which is like towards the top of people, as far as interceptions goes. Like, I don't think Herbert's played that well this year, to be honest. So I'm surprised his odds are that high.
To answer your question, Alex, they probably factoring in the fact that the Chargers have a legit chance to be one of the top seeds in the AFC, and a lot of times they don't give it to the best player at the stats; they give it to the best player on that team. If that does that make sense? I don't know if I'm
No,
saying
I mean,
it
no,
correctly.
I mean, that absolutely makes sense. But yeah, just I feel like he has not played particularly.
You're right, though. He has not played on the same category as all these other people, especially the non-QBs like JT, CMC. Do you know how much CMC means to that team? Like and Jonathan Taylor mean to that team. It's insane. Bijan, those guys mean so much to that team. Like I would have them way ahead of like Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Rogers, Lawrence, Caleb. But they got to play the odds.
All right, boys, I got to bounce. It was good joining you guys this week. I appreciate the invite, and we'll talk soon.
You're always invited since you're now the sponsor of the show. Thanks for coming, man. Drive safe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 15 minutes on the gummy bears in hour 2 of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Gummy bears for life.
See you later, guys.
Yeah, we're also sponsored by Haribo if you guys want to get on that. So get some gummy bears in here. All right. Very cool stats. Thank you for Mitch for that. Those were kind of all my fun facts that I had.
You should have the background just be gummy bears for the rest of the pod.
All right. So, Vinny, did you ever decide what you wanted to name your segment that we're about to start?
Oh, no.
Well, I thought I had figured out, how I wanted it, but then I was told that you can't have 3. So it's like, oh, cool. There's no cop outs. We have to take a stance.
I'm gonna peel the curtain back. So what he's saying is there was basically gonna be, are you in or out on a player? Like he'll give the full thing, but like he wanted to have a maybe option, and I just felt like you people as listeners might enjoy us taking a stand and I don't know, arguing our points as opposed to being like, yeah, we're all on the maybe side of things. I feel like I will say that Chris had a good suggestion. With it being like whether you would draft them again, but I mean we are a redraft league, right? So like we're talking about this season. Like sure, I'm not talking about dynasty. I might have a different argument, but for this season anyway. Go ahead, Vinny. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to point out
No.
that was what I was trying to shut down. So
my idea though is once we narrowed it down to 2 is F yeah or hell nah.
Okay, F yeah or hell nah. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take a look at the top players at each position and see who stands out. Are there people? I mean, like, look, for example, we're going to look at quarterbacks here. Josh Allen being in the top quarterbacks, not surprising, right? But there might be some people in these lists. They're like, oh, that's unexpected that they're on there, or it's unexpected that so and so is not on there. So we're going to, look at those players and be like, oh, F yeah, we believe they're going to stay there the rest of the season, or hell nah, they're going to drop back off and go back to reality. Is that kind of what you meant there, Vin?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool
so,
beans.
like, is it somebody that you expect to stay in the top, whatever? Like, kind of startable. And I think, like, safe startable is a good one. So, like, for quarterback, we can do, like, top 10 to 12.
Yeah, we're a 12-team league, so we'll do top 12 for QB then.
And then for the skill positions, if we can make it to the top 18, great. Because, everybody knows 19 through 24 are kind of like this rolling cyclical type player anyway, so I feel like we don't have to go all the way to 24, but who would be your top 12 to 18 maybe?
All right, fair enough. Well, guys, I've got the list pulled up here, so tell me, anyone on this list that stands out to you is like, I did not expect them to be there, or oh yeah, I expected them to be there. For me, I think the most obvious one is Drake May. I mean, I think a lot of people thought he had potential going into the season, but I don't know if anyone like knew for sure, he's going to be a top 6 QB. So this is like the upper half of startable QBs in a 12-team league. So guys, Drake May, is this a F yeah or a hell nah?
I'm gonna go F yeah on Drake May. I really, really wanted him as a handcuff in later rounds because every year there's somebody who takes that leap. I'm gonna say, did I expect him to be top 6? Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't finish that high. Startable for sure. I think he has an underrated rushing ability as well. I mean, look, 138 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, which puts him kind of right there in the Baker Mayfield range for rushing yards. But I'll take him next year. I will take him next year as well.
Mitch, what about you, bud?
Yeah, we'll do F yeah for Drake May. They're going to try and develop him as much as they can the rest of the year. They're probably not going to limit him with any type of motion offense. It's interesting to see McDaniel's back doing well after you guys' Raider years, and it's just nice. I think it goes to what Vinny says a lot of times: is some guys probably are just better coordinators than head coaches. Not saying that there wasn't fantasy relevant players during those Raider years, but yeah, this looks like a recipe for success for sure.
Yeah, I'm also on the FEI bandwagon, and for 2 reasons. One, if you look at where he is fantasy wise, you need to keep in mind he had a game where he had no touchdowns, guys, last week. Now he threw for 273 yards, no picks. Like, he played really well, but he had no touchdowns. So like, he is as high up as he is when there's a game where he doesn't have a touchdown. Vinny touched on the rushing yards. He hasn't had any designed runs, which people thought he might have because he's got the wheels for it. So the fact that he knows when to scramble and can make something with his legs is a big game. And I think the biggest reason for me is, I've talked about this before, younger quarterbacks find the guy that they are happy with, and that is who they throw to all the time. If you look at targets and target shares, like last year, Malik Neighbors got 20 targets a game. I get that Neighbors is good, but no wide receivers get 20 targets a game. And then when you look at the greats like Peyton Manning, and they're making their third string wide receiver Brandon Stokely fantasy viable because he spreads the ball around, I think that's really important. Now, I'm in no way comparing Drake May to Peyton Manning, but the point that I'm saying is, if you look at the Patriots receiving core, it's different each week who the guy is because he's just throwing to who's open. There have been games where Stephon Diggs balled out. There's been a game where, or 2 games now, where Kayshon Boutte balled out. There's been a couple of games where Hunter Henry balled out. He doesn't care who he throws to as long as they're open, which means he's not going to be forcing bad passes to the number 1 target and getting them picked off, right? So because of that, I think Drake May is legit, so he's an FEI for me as well. So I think we're all kind of on the same bandwagon. The next big standout got to be Danny Dimes, right? Daniel Jones. Yeah. I don't think anyone saw this coming, especially not the Colts. Oh, one more piece of news I forgot to mention. Do you guys know that Anthony Richardson is now injured again?
Yes, did you see, I guess an exercise band snapped and broke his orbital bone?
Yeah, so the Colts lost not 1 but 2 players in pregame warmups last week. One of them got a concussion from his own teammate. Tre'Davious Ward was just backpedaling, dropping into coverage, just in practice. Not covering anybody, he's just warming up. And the tight end goes scurrying onto the field, not looking where he's going, and just absolutely blindside blocks him and knocks him out. So he gets a concussion. He goes into protocol. And then, Anthony Richardson, like Vinny said, was using a resistance band, and it must have slipped off his foot or something because it popped him right in the eye and broke his orbital bone. So, Anthony Richardson... I literally heard a report. Someone said, if I were him, I would just say the team benched me because I sucked and wouldn't tell people that I got injured this way.
Yeah, apparently he's just made of glass at this point, right? I mean, I know that I can't imagine the pain. I never thought that those could break a bone.
Yeah, how badly must that hit you in the face to break a bone, or you're made of glass?
Yeah, but on kind of the question here, I'm gonna go that this is an easy hell nah for me. And once we start getting down, Caleb Williams I think is at 12. We have to start looking at names like, you have to imagine Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels are probably going to inch their way into this crowd, right? And this is all with Burrow down too. So, obviously, I'm just saying, like, these guys would definitely be further. I just don't see a world that Daniel Jones continues to thrive to the extent that he did early, because Jonathan Taylor is rolling. I think they're a good team, I just think from a fantasy perspective, he's going to kind of finish down there around like 15 to 18, but still win games. I'm not knocking Danny Jones by any means. I just don't think he stays in this like top 12 range.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I'll go hell not as well. In the sense of what he's at and being compared to right now, like currently he is 11th in best odds to win MVP voting. When I was interested in the Colts offense and everything, it was just like, is he going to be better than what was there before? And that's what I was high on. Is like Daniel Jones is going to be a massive upgrade from Flacco and Richardson. So that's why I was high on it. I never even my wildest dreams thought Daniel Jones would be doing this well. So he's overperformed so highly that I think I have to pick hell no. But that's not anything against Daniel Jones. As if he's saying is like, if he finishes anywhere from 8 to 12, that's a really, really good year and like nothing to be knocked on. It's just, I didn't imagine, 10th or 11th in MVP voting. That's just too much.
Alex?
Yeah, this one's tough for me because, like, I don't think Danny Dimes is that good, but I think the Colts are that good. I think the Colts are just, like, when you have a guy like Jonathan Taylor, it just makes your life so much easier as a quarterback. Like, Jonathan Taylor has been unreal, which has taken a lot of pressure off of Daniel Jones. And we've all kind of thought the Colts have had decent receivers. I mean, I think Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, all three of those guys are decent players, and Tyler Warren's been great. I think the receiving core is great. They just haven't had a quarterback other than a couple of games with Joe Flacco because Richardson's been so bad. So, like, he's got all the weapons he needs, and he has a great running game. So for that reason alone, I think he'll stay in the top 12. But, like, he's not a guy I believe in. He's not a guy, like we're starting him in our podcast team league because we picked him up after Burrow went down. But he's not a guy, he's not the guy I want. You know what I mean? Like, for example, Stafford is below him, Darnold's below him. I'd probably rather be running those guys at QB right now than Daniel Jones. So, do I think he'll stay there? Yes, but, like, I'm not super sold on him because I think it's more the situation than the player. Whereas Drake May, I think it's more the player.
I keep looking at this list, and it's crazy for me to keep looking at how, like, Lamar Jackson hasn't played in 2.5 weeks since the start of the third quarter, over 2.5 weeks ago. And he's like still.
And he's
like,
QB 14. Yeah,
but look how close he is. Also, he's only like 14 points away.
We should probably also sort it by average. Like, I mean, that's a little skewed because Lamar is hurt. But well, no, just because like some quarterbacks have had buys, right? So like that is worth noting. Right. Like, I don't think we had Dak up here because he's had a buy. Or no, he hadn't had a buy. I don't know. But yeah, so if we do it by average, right. I don't know why it shouldn't change that much. But yeah, so. Yeah. Oh well, I guess Dak. I mean, Vinny and I were super sold on Dak starting the year. I know you weren't, Mitch. Do you think he'll stay here?
I've been sold on Dak for many years, for the last like 3 years. What do you mean? Time out.
Okay, I guess just more. Vinny and I have been very, very bandwagon about him, and I didn't know if you. Okay.
No, I was a little nervous about the change in offensive coordinators. I didn't know if there was going to be more of a balance between the running game. Obviously, no one saw Javonte Williams coming. I'm not even remotely saying that. I'm just saying the reason I regardless about anything I'm about to say, the last 2 years, if I didn't get Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, my target was Dak Prescott. And I know Vinny can back me up on this one. I've told him for a couple of years now, Dak is always my target guy if I don't get one of the top, 3. I guess this year there was a top 4, but basically, if I didn't have Josh Allen last year, it was Dak this year. And if I didn't get Lamar or Jaden on that right there, that spot, then I was definitely going Dak or Love.
I've legit never heard you say that before.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just messing.
He's 100% messing. He's trying to troll me and get me upset.
I actually spoke to Mitch like about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was venting about just my team and the underperforming of players that I had drafted, and he said, "Don't worry." One of my inside men said that Dak Prescott is somebody who's going to take off, as the season goes on. So I know
the same guy who gave me the Darnold speech. I was like, "Dang it, Vinny!" The same guy who gave me the Darnold stuff last year is like, "Dak looks so good. You need all the shares you need in Dak." This was after like week 1 or 2 when Dak wasn't what he was doing now. Yeah. So no, I'm a big Dak guy. I just sorry, Alex.
Okay, yeah, and then we'll just look at the last 4. Honestly, I think they all kind of stand out. Stafford, Herbert, Darnold, Williams, any of these guys surprise you being this high? And any of these guys you think are going to drop down lower? I mean, Vinny, you have to be surprised about Sam Darnold based on your preseason take, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still surprised about Darnold. I actually am very surprised to even see him this high up because I just did not think he was even performing at that high of a level. But it makes sense because I know JSN's been going off. Yeah, I think Darnold has to drop off a little bit. I just genuinely don't think he's that good, although the system is catering really well towards him. I'll just be curious to see how he goes when the season goes on. Caleb Williams is a walking time bomb, but he's also in Ben Johnson's offense. I'm going to go hell nah on 3 of the 4. I'm going to go Stafford, Darnold, and Williams. Now, Stafford, I think, is going to finish right around that QB 12 range, so I might eat crow on it. But I would put more money on Bo Nix, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, possibly Trevor Lawrence, kind of usurping 3 of those 4. Justin Herbert, as long as I keep letting him throw the rock, I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I'd even throw Jordan Love in there too.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's obviously Caleb Williams. I mean, I've been preaching how bad he is, and he is. I mean, again, look at his yards compared to these other guys. Not a Caleb Williams fan, but I got to give him credit. He's been finding ways to win. He's had a couple of last minute wins, even if it was the other team dropping the ball. It is what it is. So yeah, I definitely look. Like you said, Lamar Jackson's going to surpass one of these guys. The fact that he's this close after missing 3 weeks, like, let's be real. At least one of the top 12 is getting bumped by Lamar, right? So to me, it's going to be Caleb. I think Stafford is going to go with Puka. If Puka's injury is legitimate and has to miss multiple weeks, I think you see Stafford fall. If it's not, I just think they're passing. Like, their running game is worse than it has been. Kyron Williams has not been as good this year. He's been the last couple of years. And their passing game is just a world beater with, I mean, you've got effectively 2 wide receiver ones in Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. It's what the Jets had last year, except they're actually making use of it. So, yeah, I think Stafford stays there. Like you said, Herbert, they're going to keep chucking the rock. As long as they do, he'll be fine. Darnold, you mentioned Darnold having a bunch of yards with Smith and Jigba. I think there was a stat during last week's game where he had at one point in time he had 114 yards passing, and like 106 of them were to Njigba, like during the course of the game, which is pretty funny. But yeah, if I had to pick someone to fall off, I'm gonna pick Caleb just because I'm a Caleb hater. That's just on me. If I had to pick someone besides Caleb, then it is gonna be Darnold. I think Darnold has played great. He's kind of outperformed himself for sure, but I think he's going to fall more into like that tier 2 quarterback than tier 1 once all said and done.
So you're saying Herbert has the least chance to fall off? I'm confused on the question with Vinny.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think Herbert has the least chance to fall off. Then Stafford, as long as Puka's not hurt, and then I would take the bottom 2 as the most likely to fall out of the top 12.
So that's so interesting to me because I would probably have Herbert as the most hell nah. What are the injuries to? Isn't Slater out the whole year? And what's Alt's injury? I forget. But Mekhi Becton is battling an injury. If you don't have those 3 guys, I'm a big hell nah on the Justin Herbert bandwagon. Whereas Stafford, I agree with you, very much ties to Puka. Whether or not he'll be placing 8 to 14 as fantasy QB is going to be dependent on Puka. 100% with you on board there. Darnold, I think he's about right where he's going to be for the rest of the year. I think he's just going to completely be a 19-point average QB a week. That's going to put him below all the elites at 27 and put him out of the top 12 because you need to be about 24, 22 to be in the top 12. And then Caleb, again, this is the fascinating thing. I have a question for both of you. I know it's hypothetical, it's big, what if, but let's say the season ended today or whatever. Next year, where are these Bears players going to be drafted in comparison? Obviously, to where they were drafted this year, they're all late. But like, where's Swift going to go next year? Where is Odunze going to go? Where's Caleb going to go? Like, are people buying in on the stock after what we've seen the first month and a half, 2 months? Or are people buying off of the stock or selling? Sorry.
I have a hard time thinking people are going to start selling this offense because it's only going to start to click and get better, I think, and figure out Ben Johnson. I'm still not sure about Swift. I think the passing game, will kind of continue to improve over time, you know. But you asked the routine watcher. By the way, I was having a conversation with my dad, who does not watch very much football, but apparently was watching the Bears on Monday night. And he goes, "Man, that DeAndre Swift sir is good." And I'm like, "This is why everybody hates DeAndre Swift, because every once in a while he literally looks like the best quarterback in the world, and and then he just falls off the face of the earth." So
100%. So do not draft Swift next year. If you're
and also, I mean, Caleb Williams has had his bye. So if you do filter this by points per game, I mean, he's sitting at 23.2. He's above Drake May. He's above Jalen Hurts. So that's an offense that's like, do you really not want to buy into it as well as they've been doing?
Especially year 2 into the offense next year.
But that's also why I'm like, look at how far down the list Sam Darnold goes when you sort by points per game, right?
Yeah, that's pretty deep. But he's going to be consistently bad, so it's going to be enough points to put him around that 12 mark, is what I was trying to say. That's all.
Yeah. I think the most surprising thing of this list, can we just highlight that even when Josh Allen is bad and the Bills look bad, he is still a fantasy stud. He's still averaging
he's the safe one. That's why, like, if you're looking to go quarterback early, I think Josh Allen is the best pick. Not because he's going to be QB1. He's probably not going to be, but he will be top 3. I think he's like the safe pick to be top 3.
Alex, please do not pick Josh Allen in the future, because he has not had an injured year. And if you finally go Josh Allen in the first round,
I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy waiting till much later in the draft than getting a guy like Dak or Baker who only scores a few points.
I agree with you, but I don't. Yeah, you just got to change the name of your, because I don't think Baker is going to go past the second round next year. There's just no way. He might be MVP of the league this year.
I would love to do a deep dive for maybe next week. Is if we look at Josh Allen over the past 5 years in DoD, I'm not sure. Is this did Matt have him one year where it was Josh Allen and a whole bunch of nobodies? Because I feel like Luis
It was Josh Allen and Derrick Henry with a bunch of nobodies, and he beat me in the Super Bowl.
Well, then if that's the case, then somehow Luis did an all-time butcher job with Josh Allen on his team, unless he can just turn it around, because
that's why I said at the beginning of the year, I said anyone with Kyren Williams and Josh Allen has a chance to win the division. But Kyren has not even performed to where he should be at his average 225. He's been like solid 225 fantasy point running back like 3 years in a row. And then this year, there's just, I know some of you said you saw it, so it's whatever. But here's my point that I'm trying to get at is Josh Allen is slowly creeping in the DoD league for most championships. He's only 29. That means he's got like a whole second half of like our, you know what I'm trying to say? Like Drew Brees delivered fantasy Super Bowls in his mid-30s. Like Rodgers delivered me a Super Bowl at the age of 36 and 37. He was back-to-back MVPs. Like, how many more is Josh Allen gonna deliver?
All right. Let's...
Also, bold strategy for Luis making it all the way to Wednesday after waivers and not picking up a quarterback with Josh Allen on a bye this week.
Let's take a look and see who his options are here. He's got a couple options.
He's got options. Yeah, he could do the Unk Bowl on Thursday night.
He could go with the Rattler.
I'm so excited. Yeah, the social media has determined Thursday night is the Unk Bowl between Rodgers and Flacco.
Yep, 2 quarterbacks who are still younger than me. So let's move on. All right, we're going to move to running backs. This one's going to have, I think, a lot more juice behind it. So if we take a look at running backs, can't necessarily go by average points, can we here? Oh, yeah, we'll try. All right, let's go by average points and see anything jump out at you, surprise you from here. I mean, there's the obvious one, but I'm not going to say anything until you guys tell me what you think.
I think if we just kind of go down the list, or all the way up until the obvious one you're talking about, have to all be FEIs, right? Those are all guys taken in the. I mean, we could even. Where does like the top 12 stop? I mean, is it down here?
I don't think any of these the top 4 surprise us, right? Achane I wasn't high on because I was worried that he or Tua would get injured. I did not have Tyreek Hill being the one that got injured on my bingo card. And then even Jalen Waddle got injured. He took a massive hit and left the game, but then came back in. So I had a lot more injuries happening, but so far he's faded it. But yeah, I think the big 2 for me are Cook and Williams. Not that Cook shouldn't be up here, but just I thought there's gonna be more touchdown regression. There wasn't for the first couple of weeks. Now the last couple of weeks he's kind of come back down to earth. Now he still had rushed great, but he didn't draw a zone. But yeah, the big one, obviously, Javonte Williams. Now, he finally had a bad game this past week, but up until this past week, he has been an absolute monster. So the question is, F yeah or hell nah?
I'm gonna have to go F yeah. Like if the Cowboys decide that this is the model of offense they want, the problem is Javonte Williams is gonna be like, oh, I want a big contract. He's probably not worth more than the $5 to $8 million per year. He's just in a perfect system. I'm gonna have to go F yeah though. Like I think he's the real deal. Like he fits into that offense so well, and they're just gonna continue to feed him the rock.
What's his contract right now? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth pointing out that even week 6, which is by far his worst week, he still had 21 opportunities, and that's something that like you can't buy that, man. Like when you're looking for RB1s, you're looking for guys who get 15 plus opportunities. So the fact that even on his worst game, they're like, hey, he's not having great success running the ball, we're gonna throw it to him. Like they still were trying to get him involved in the game. It didn't work out, obviously. But still 21 opportunities in his worst game. I think for this season, it's F yeah. I think Javonte Williams is going to be a top 12 fantasy running back for this year.
Yeah, for this year, 100% F yeah, for sure. I had a hypothetical again, because I don't know if they're going to be able to. A team and they might offer him too much, and the Cowboys will cower because they don't want to have too much money locked up with like automatic pay when you draft running backs in certain rounds. You have to pay him a certain amount. So it'll be interesting to see how much he gets offered in the free agency. But let's say he does sign for whatever amount next year. Where amongst this group, like where do you think he goes? Like pretend, you know what I mean? Like does he go right before the Justin Jefferson?
So typical Mitch, just taking a segment off the rails. The whole point of the segment is, do you believe in them for the rest of the year in fantasy? Let's talk about his contract situation for next year.
No, but I'm
Does
saying
he get drafted before Justin Jefferson?
Okay, fine. If you have him this year, obviously, hell yeah, fine. I'll move on. I was more interested in people's probably opinion of him going forward. Of course, you're going to start Javonte Williams the rest of the year. It's like super obvious.
I mean, I might not start him this week. We'll get to that in a minute.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
Well, you guys saw when the running back I picked up because I was
back on
correct.
The rails. Javonte Williams, hell yeah, rest of the year. But the one that was interesting to me is, are you guys hell yeah or hell no on Genty?
I mean, he's only gotten better, right? Like,
yeah, I'm gonna have to go hell yeah on him just because they're finally giving him the volume. I don't think that they're going to be a good offense, but his yards per carry has kind of trended in the right direction. They're giving him 20 to 25 touches a game. I think just from that standpoint, he's going to be fine. He's going to be like old school Steven Jackson, like you were like so unimpressed, but you're like, he's still an RB1-2 because he's going to get me 10 points a game.
Yeah, it's rough. He's right on the border. That was the one that stood out for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I had it sorted by average. So if I go by actual points, I think it switches up a little bit. Cam Scatterbu, obviously, I think is a big surprise here. But based on how he's been playing, I'm gonna say F yeah. This guy has been an absolute monster, and I don't really see a lot of the guys behind him overtaking him, other than unless Derrick Henry can get back in action. I mean, Bucky Irving had high hopes in this, starting the season, but he's been injured. He's not expected to play again this week, so that's gonna eat into his carries. But yeah, I think Cam Scatterbu is an F yeah for me as well, just because like he wasn't the starter for a couple of weeks, and now that he is, like he's just made it his own.
I'm curious to hear Mitch's take on this. So I don't know what to think of Scatterbu for a couple of reasons. Primarily, I think he's good. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's NFL elite, right? Like, it's just one of those, you have to have like a certain quality, especially at the running back position. I'm not sure he has it. But my question for Mitch is, why all this is the Giants' offensive line all of a sudden good? Because like they haven't been able to produce fantasy relevant running backs since Saquon, and even that was super hit or miss. So what happened this year that all of a sudden Cam Scatterbu is great? Like, and Tyrone Tracy was good, but you knew in the back half of the season, if you were starting him, you're like, oh no, this is kind of going downhill. So like, why is all of a sudden he elite? Is it him? Is it the line? Is it both? I'm just,
No. It's
I
the
don't
one
know.
thing it's the one thing I think you hadn't said yet. It's Dart. I think Cam Newton probably said this best, is the running backs on teams that have the ability to run the RPO sets, the run pass options, are instantly above any other offensive system that for their running backs success value or ceiling value. It's like the if you can just run the RPO successfully, you're gonna make defenses play a certain way against your run game that other running backs don't have to see. And I think Cam Scatterbook, I for the rest of this year with Dart healthy, it's hard for me. I want to say F no, because I'm just not sure it's sustainable. First of all, I also want you to picture like imagine drafting Scatterbo in the first round, and this is your running back every week going headfirst into these defenders. All it's gonna take is for like Quincy Williams or Jared Verse or one of these big guys finally catch him, and your first round pick is gone or something like that. So like I'm not a big fan of Scatterbo. I'm a big fan of watching the Giants and Dart. I don't think the offensive line has made that much of a progression. I think this purely comes down to the defenses have to be responsible for the RPO because you got a QB back there who's willing to run 150 yards on you in any given Sunday. Like Dart does not care. He will take off and run. That frees up linebacker coverages, having to cover that on the option and those, and the wide receiver quick thing over the middle keeps the linebacker back. So I think Cam Newton said it best, and this is why I've always been a fan of Henry coming to the Ravens 2 years ago. Is Cam Newton? I think said it just yeah. If you can run those, okay. To sum it up, I think he's fine with Dart.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the fact that they've lost their best receiver and their starting running back got hurt and they've been this good is really impressive. And I think it's also just look intangibles. Like sometimes a guy brings the right attitude, the right energy to the team, and it makes a difference. Like I don't know that that's going to make a difference long term, but in the short term, like it's like a shot of adrenaline to a team. And this guy brings that energy, and it makes players around him better because like I guarantee you that offensive line wants to block for this freaking guy. You know what I
That's
mean?
so
Like
true. Yeah.
that this is the kind of player they want to block for. And when you have that guy, like it improves your play. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, everyone should be self motivated. I get that. Like you're a competitor, whatever. But look, everyone has that next level in them. Not everyone can reach it. The true greats can, tap that next level switch whenever they need to. There's other people that can't, but something can hit it for them. And I think that the energy that he brings has hit that switch for his O-line, and I think he has made his offensive line better. Now, I don't know that that's going to work out long term because, like, adrenaline only works so long, but I think short term, yeah, like, he's definitely going to be a shot for this team. Same with Jackson Dart coming in and winning games. This is a team that's been losing games for years and years and years, and now you've got a guy winning games. Like, I don't know if that's sustainable, but, man, that's got to turn around your morale and, make your desire to play go up for sure,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's gonna stay up there because like when you look at his he's been the starter for 3 weeks. If you look at his 3 weeks as the starter, all three of those were pretty good games, right? He didn't score a touchdown this game, but he still had 22 opportunities, 21 touches, over 100 yards from scrimmage. Like, he's balling out every time he gets the chance to. He's balling out. Other than week 1 where he only got 2 carries, right? So,
Is there any part of you guys that like that was just a national televised game to where the whole year before the head coach of the Giants had to deal with the whole Barkley going to the Eagles, and now it's kind of like, hey, look at our running back type of thing, and they just forced him the ball? Do you think that was any part of it?
I
Like, do
think
you,
there's a little bit of it, but that's the thing is he is just such an anomaly for what we typical see in breakout running backs. I don't know how to categorize him, and
yeah,
I'm
that's what
fine being completely wrong on that. It's less about Cam Scatterbo, who I'm like, okay, yeah, what, he's an anomaly. He hasn't really shown himself to be relevant in the NFL. Obviously, he's a rookie, but just not your typical running back. And I'm not talking like he's a short, stocky white guy. It's just we don't have a lot of rookie power running backs that like all of a sudden thrive. Um, it's more around the Giants offense that I just can't. I don't know if I can buy Giants offense. When you're not a super elite player like Malik Neighbors. And so, I don't know. It's tough. I'm going to have to go hell now on Scatterboo.
Yeah,
I think
F no.
on this
F no, not hell no.
On this,
you changed it.
no, it's F yeah, hell no.
Oh yeah, we forgot to look at people that we were surprised were not higher.
Never mind.
We forgot to look at people we were surprised were not higher on the list. I don't really think there were any quarterbacks. Let's look at we'll look at running backs. So I guess
actually, you know what? On a quarterback perspective, this is a guy who has played all but one game. Let's filter by average really quick, if you can. And happens to be on the number one team in our league's roster and has been started multiple times, has historically been a top 6 fantasy quarterback pre-injury, top 10 quarterback last year, Mr. Kyler Murray.
I don't know. I've never been a big Kyler Murray guy, personally.
17 points per game. He historically speaking is one of the top fantasy quarterbacks of all time on a points per game basis. Now, I have not liked him since the injury. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback, but you have to be surprised that he is as low down this list as he is. You might not need to be surprised that he's not doing great, but to be like quarterback 20 on a points per game basis is pretty crazy. CJ Stroud has more points per game than Kyler Murray, and he's looked terrible.
In the same way that you can predict Jordan Love through Toyotathon, you cannot have a Kyler Murray good year when Battlefield releases Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty releases a game in the same fall. Murray would never be good in a NFL season with those games coming out.
I have this is going to be so off topic. Do you guys think his voice is real? I think it's fake. I think he fakes his voice. I've thought this for years. I've never said anything. It's fake, right? He doesn't actually sound like that.
Okay, so
Kyler
Murray.
He seems to be like this 5'10", 200-pound guy that's like, I don't sound like this, so I can sound big. I feel like and it doesn't sound like an authentic deep voice. It sounds like someone who's trying to have this super deep voice every time I hear him talk.
Kyler Murray is interesting for me because he's one of the famous interviews from Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick at the Super Bowl weekends. He always goes there and sets up a show, whatever, and they always do the rookie drafting class that's coming in before, whatever, or coming up in the next month, and they interview top prospects. Kyler Murray came on the show, brought his dad in the room, and basically didn't answer any of the questions without looking at the dad and waiting for the dad to give a response. And then basically that dropped his draft stock. Murray's a very odd individual since day one. I think he was being protected by a lot of people. Yeah, it's very hard to describe him, and I would never be happy with him being my fantasy QB. But what do I know? Because Matt has him, and he's doing just fine. So,
did you say dropped his draft stock for a guy that got drafted number 1 overall?
No, they said they thought it was going to. They were saying the interview wasn't alarming. No, they had GMs called him and said they moved him off their board entirely if he wasn't the 1 overall pick and dropped to 3, 4, 5 that he had. Yeah, no, I'll send the link or whatever to the DoD thing. I don't want to get off. I don't want to derail the conversation. But yeah, Kyler Murray is very, as far as QBs go, especially in DoD fantasy where your QB really matters. You want your QB to be more towards Baker mentality, not a Kyler. You know what I mean?
I'll also say this bodes well for you, Alex. I don't think, unless Matt starts striking gold on his quarterback, I can't see that sustaining into the playoffs and being a successful fantasy team.
Yeah, that's
don't put any bad juju out there. Let's keep going with our segment. All right, running backs. Yeah, so let's look at some running backs that we're surprised are as low as they are, and I think the obvious one's got to be Saquon and Derrick Henry. So, guys, Saquon, Derrick Henry, do you guys think there's a return to prominence? Do you think we see them make it back into the top 12 this season? Are they a FEA for you, or are they a hell nah? They're gonna stay here or keep falling?
Hell yeah, yeah.
It's not one of the options. So you think both of them are gonna make it back into the top 12?
Yeah, Derrick Henry, just when Lamar comes back, it's impossible. That's the number one fantasy producing team, what best offense in the league. The stats they put up on a yearly basis over 17 games is insane. The stats they put up. So Derrick Henry will be fine. Barkley is interesting. A lot of times, I think Vinny and I, and we've had this debate before, how much Kellen Moore would call the play with like 12 seconds left before he got cut off versus Jalen Hurts. I know Vinny and I talked about that for months last year. I don't know what's going on with the Eagles. So Barkley is a little scary, but with that line, they just get a little bit healthier and Jalen Hurts figures whatever out. Barkley goes instantly back to the number one fantasy running back points per week. I don't know if he can catch his way back up because it's already been too many bad weeks, but yeah, Barkley's a little confusing. Henry, I'm not concerned at all.
I'm really surprised you said that. I was gonna give the exact same answer, and I thought it was a hot take. But I was gonna say F yeah to Henry getting back in there.
Yeah.
And I've seen enough of Saquon this year to be pretty terrified.
Yeah, Saquon's toast.
I don't know about toes. I think it's something going on with the team's offense. But yeah,
I think he's toast.
I mean, that's a really bad game log. They're not even
terrible.
giving him the touches either. That's what I can't quite figure out. It was on Thursday night. He started the game 2 carries for 31 yards, and they just never gave him the ball after that.
I think he had 2 carries the whole second half or whatever.
I mean, yeah, but you gotta look at it from their point of view. This guy's averaged less than 4 yards a carry in every game but one going into week 5, right? Like. This is the guy that like I said, this is the team with the most 3-and-outs because they can't run the ball.
Yeah.
Well, that could be a product of not being able to pass the ball because they're loading the box. You can't run the ball because no one's afraid of Hurts throwing the ball. That's what I fear is going on.
But it's the same team as last year. Same wide receiver, same quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. They're not getting I don't want to go technical, but they're not getting the same defensive looks of those 2 high safeties. It's really concerning. As soon as Lamar comes back, everyone's going to throw all their defensive players back again, and Henry's going to look great. But I don't think throughout this year, defenses are going to start scheming that cover 4 against them. They're just going to keep pounding the box and make Hurts throw the ball because apparently he can't.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's very confusing.
The Eagles look a lot like that team that lost like 6 or 7 games in a row, including a playoff matchup to the Bucks 2 years ago. It's when you watch them, you're like, this is that team. It's not the team that we saw in the back-to-back Super Bowl runs. This is that team, or the 2 Super Bowl runs in 3 years. This is that team where you're like, there is something seriously wrong with this offense. And most likely it's the coordinator. Both times they lost coordinators that did not fit their system. So they had the Super Bowl coordinator gone. This year they had a Super Bowl coordinator gone. So, and the ensuing year afterwards, they looked terrible. I don't think it's the players. I don't think it's the line. I don't think it's hurt. Like, these guys don't automatically get worse. There's something wrong with how they're running that offense.
Great.
Yeah, I think he's done so. All right. I mean, for the year. I don't mean career. I'm talking about for the
I know.
This whole segment, which I know is hard for you guys to grasp, this whole point of this segment is this year's fantasy football.
Hell nah on Saquon. I think he's toast.
Hell nah. He's done so.
Done.
Stick a fork in him. He done. Let's move on to wide receiver. All right, wide receiver. I mean, look, top of the list. You got to stand out. George Pickens. I mean, I was high on George Pickens, but stupid. I didn't see him being this high.
Yeah, like, can we filter this one by points per game? Because I think it's going to get interesting
getting the number 1 fantasy wide receiver and the number 1 tight end, and both of them being on the Cowboys is sort of frustrating. And when he drafted Chase and Kittle's very, very high, like you don't get like most every other team usually gets punished for that. But the number 1 pick and the number 3 pick, number 3 pick and number 1 overall pick are flopping, and he still has the number 1 receiver and number 1 tight end. That's insane.
I hate to make stuff about like the what ifs in fantasy, or like, oh yeah, I was right. But what pisses me off looking at this list is the next click on my draft board 2 picks away was JSN. The next click 1 pick away on my draft board was George Pickens. And so the fact that like both of them are sitting here 1 and 2 in fantasy is just, and then you can add Puka to that list because that was 1 click away. This is just an infuriating list for me to look at, because these are all guys that I had like super high on my board, above like other people in that tier. But I want to see what happens this week, Alex, when your boy, CeeDee Lamb, who definitely is not as good as Roma Dunze and Garrett Wilson put together. So if you feel like that's an option on your draft board. But no, I'm curious to see what happens to Pickens when he goes back to being the number 2 target.
Yeah, well, and I'm concerned. I'll be honest with you. I'm concerned that he doesn't go back to being a number 2 target.
Wow.
Wow.
Like when I made the trade for CeeDee Lamb, the first, like if you look at Pickens' stat lines here, so I traded for CeeDee after week 2, and like yes, he had a touchdown, but even with CeeDee getting hurt in week 2, he still only had 5 for 68. Even week 3, 5 for 68. I thought I was fine. But then 8 for $134 and 9 for $168 in 2 of his last 3 games, getting this 11 targets. And if you look at CeeDee Lamb, which I don't know where he's going to be at because obviously he's got a bunch of 0-pointers. Let me type it out here. If you look at CeeDee Lamb's target share during the games that he played, 13 and 11, well, that's what George Pickens is getting, right? So he's basically become the CeeDee Lamb in the offense, and during that time, the offense has been absolutely humming. And yeah, there's building a rapport built over a longer time with CD, so it's not like I don't think CD is going to be like a number 2 or anything, but I think it's going to be more like a 1A, 1B as opposed to a 1 and a 2.
I can see that.
But yeah, I don't see George Pickens dropping out of the top. I think they're both going to get to eat. You know what I mean? I don't see him dropping. He's been too good.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
This is what we thought the whole time, right? We thought Pickens was going to be like a top 15 to 18 wide receiver. We didn't think wide receiver 1, but I agree, Alec.
Yeah.
I think when he's wide receiver 1 a third of the season, like through the first 6 games, like he's not dropping. Like
I think you and I were part of the Dak Prescott George Pickens fan club to start the year for sure. So this does not surprise me in any way, shape, or form.
The way the projections were going, you can't have Lamb and Pickens on the top. This is fruitful because of a CeeDee Lamb injury. With Lamb there, Pickens isn't even like these numbers are Lamb's numbers that he's basically getting. So when Lamb comes back, unless you think they're gonna pay the second highest paid wide receiver in the league and have him be second fiddle to Pickens, this is gonna definitely fall off.
I'm not saying you won't see some regression. What I'm saying is when you look at this, look at how often they pass the ball, Mitch. 52, 40, 40, 34, like
no, for sure.
34. Other than the Jets game, which is their worst game by far, which by the way, Dak still threw 4 TDs. Like this is a team that's going to throw the ball probably on average 40 times a game. And when you're throwing it 40 times a game, you can give 12 targets to CD, 12 targets to Pickens, 8 targets to Jake Ferguson, and still have some targets to spare for the running back or whatever the third string wide receiver is.
Yeah, I was just looking in comparison to the rest of those guys up there. It just solidifies, I feel like, how much, with Puka Nakua's injury, not knowing, it just is, I think this picture at the end of the year will look closer to like JSN and Amon-Ra, just so much farther ahead, and I'm not sure how far Pickens will fall down, I guess is what I'm trying. I think there's going to be a hit. I don't think he could even finish. You guys think George Pickens is going to finish top 6, top 8?
I mean, I'm going to say top 12. I'm saying I think top 12 is reasonable. Because also you have to keep in mind. Look at the other guy. Like, but this isn't my evaluation of the talent who's here. I'm just going to go over this because we're on the screen. So, currently hurt. We don't know how long he'll be out. Currently hurt. We don't know how long he'll be out. Currently hurt. We don't know how long he'll be out. Currently hurt. We don't know how long he'll be out. Now he did play with an injury, but he played very poorly. He was more of a decoy, so we don't know how long it'll be. So like when you look at a lot of the guys who are up here, we don't know what's going to happen to them too. So even if Pickens falls, a lot of the other guys are going to fall too, which still leaves him up there by default because he's going to be playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Devontae Adams also. Yeah, is going to go. Okay, yeah, for sure. So I guess who hurts more the other person, McLaurin or Lamb coming back? Does McLaurin hurt Debo more, or does Lamb hurt Pickens more?
I think Lamb hurts Pickens more because if you look at the games that Debo played with Terry McLaurin, he still did well.
Another guy, yeah.
Like he still had 7 for 77 and 7 for 44 in a touch, like in the 2 games that McLaurin played.
Right. So it's I guess I'm just it's hard for me. I know Dak is amazing, but he'd probably be the number one fantasy QB if he's going to be able to support Lamb, Pickens, and Ferguson in the capacity that they are number ones overall for the rest. That's what I'm just having hard grasping. But yeah. If you're saying top 12, then for sure he'll be top 12. He's just number one right now, so it's hard for me not to come see him, up there with, there's a lot like think about, yeah, JSN, Vinny. Every time I look at that, I feel like he's probably going to be the number one fantasy wide receiver this year.
My
He's a
God,
big
he is so
F,
good.
yeah.
He is an F, yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, he's one that on another segment we can talk about how we think players' draft stock has changed for the following year. But man, that's an F, yeah.
What about Wilson and Odunze and Tucker? What about that three right in a row?
Yeah, I'm also curious about like Chase, Wilson, Odunze. Like, I'm not going to say Chase is falling out of a top 12, but he's also not a sure start, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about all three of those. I'm going to go F yeah on Chase and Odunze. I think we've seen enough of Odunze. I watched the game the other day. I don't know how Odunze had a touchdown called back. Like, it was like an illegal formation of a tackle in the backfield that got heavily criticized on social media. Garrett Wilson, I think it just depends on health and how long the Jets hold on to Justin Fields. Justin Fields is good for Garrett Wilson. This is like Danny Dimes is good for Malik Neighbors. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like great, but it's like Justin Fields is good for Garrett Wilson as bad as they are for the team. So I might go hell yeah for Wilson for now, depending on how he stays.
And I don't think it's sustainable. I think Wilson's massively overachieved. I'll go F or what is it? It's hell nah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hell nah. Rome Odunze is interesting. That's a big F, yeah. Because I understand now why DJ Moore was saying the stuff he was saying preseason, because he probably saw in training camp Odunze was getting all the red zone targets and all the red zone routes that DJ Moore was probably just like, I'm not dealing with this year, because it's so obvious that Odunze is just such a good pick and such a good pick going forward as well. What was the other one? Chase, I'll go F yeah for sure. Just the talent alone and Flacco saving their season. And then Tucker, I'm gonna go
hell no.
Hell no. And Metcalf, what do you guys think about Metcalf? And Alex needs to answer all five.
I hate to say this, Mitch. I have to go F yeah on Metcalf. Just
yeah.
Because, dude, he has 19. Look at what do you see on this screen that is different? This is why you have to hate DK every once in a while. Amon-Ra has 79 points on 44 catches. Puka has 54 catches. Jackson Smith and Jigba 42. DK is on this list with 19 freaking catches and 31 targets.
Puka Nacua has 54 receptions.
Yeah, this is why you just hate DK though. Like he's here every year with like the worst production. It's just super high efficiency that you expect to drop off. So he's a hell yeah for me. Only because they seem to like want to get him the ball, for sure. At least in the red zone. Obviously not anywhere else on the field with 19 catches.
I think he had like 6 TDs in the last 2 years total in Seattle. I forget, but like, yeah. Alex?
Yeah, so just real quick, I still think George Pickens will be towards the top. JSN, no brainer. Puka depends on his injury. He's currently day-to-day, so he's probably going to miss a game or at least be a decoy if he plays. But I still think he'll play enough of the games, assuming he stays healthy, that he stays up here. Amon-Ra stays up here. Abuka, I think, falls off. Love Abuka. I was super high on this guy. But hamstring injuries means you miss at least 3 games. And let's face it, dude has scored 5 touchdowns in 5 games up until this last week where he got hurt. That wasn't super sustainable, so I think he is going to fall out. Now, you're still going to be happy to have him on your team, but by the time he comes back, you're going to have healthy Evans, healthy Godwin, and healthy Abuka, and instead of being Abuka has established himself as the guy while the other 2 were hurt, you're going to have the other 2 reestablishing their rapport with Baker, and then he'll come back in. I'm not saying he'll be third fiddle because I think he's that good, but I think you see him come back down to earth. Did you guys touch on Jamar Chase? Because I do want to point out, look what he did when he finally had a real quarterback. 10 of 12 for 94 and a touch. First game with Flacco. So is he back?
Yeah. No, I think he's always just kind of. Yeah, I don't think he's not number one wide receiver overall, but he's definitely top 12. So
The thing that I hate about
getting 12 targets, catching 10 of them, that's an amazing catch rate. Like, you don't think that's...
the problem I
I need to
have
see
with
a little bit more with Flacco. Sorry, but you go.
yeah, I need to see more of Flacco too, because like this is kind of like that Jake Browning. Like Jamar Chase is great, but with Joe Burrow, that 70-yard bomb, 50-yard bomb is always there. And I think 10 for 94 is great. 10 for 94 also concerns the piss out of me because that catch average is so low. Like, are they just going to dink and dunk Jamar and he has to make his own fantasy points? Or is someone actually going to get him the ball downfield?
For sure.
All right.
By the way, did you see the stat that Drake May has a 72% completion on passes with a 20 yards or more downfield, and the league average is 40%?
Wow.
Just wild, by the way. In case you're wondering, with garbage wide receivers, for all accounts purposes. But I know it's the wrong position, but just a stat that just triggered. But continue on, Alex.
Yeah, so Trey Tucker, I think this is a one-hit wonder. He had that one monster game. Other than that, he's been completely average. He will absolutely fall off. Roma Dunze, this one's hard to judge, man. Like, I'm so anti-Caleb, but he was up here. I'm going to say he falls back down to earth because I think, like Abuka, he was a touchdown-dependent guy. Look at the catch rate. Catch rate's really important to me. Sub 50%. Only 50%. Sub 50%. Why? Because Caleb can't throw. Caleb can't throw. You can't catch. I think Roma Dunze falls out of the top.
Oh, wow.
Top 15, I'll say. Yeah, DK, as long as they keep force-feeding him touchdowns, he's going to stay here. Which, yeah, I'll admit I was wrong on DK. Now, I think I was right about everything I said. That he's not going to have a high catch rate. He's not going to, not going to have a high yardage total, which he hasn't. But or high number of catches and high yardage total, but he's getting TDs. And as long as they're force feeding him TDs, and they did try one long bomb play, which he was wide open, but unfortunately Rodgers can't throw the deep ball, and he threw it about 5 yards short. I think they said 7, I said 5 to be nice, but yeah. So I mean, if Rodgers could throw a deep ball, that's gonna be even better. But yeah, so I think he'll definitely stay up there. Johnson's gonna fall off. He's got a hamstring injury, meaning he's gonna miss at least 3 weeks. We're gonna see Ladd McConkey or Keenan Allen reestablish themselves as the guy. Yeah, so yeah, as far as these top guys, I think you're going to see Adunze, Tucker, Abuka, Johnson fall, and then I think you'll see most of the rest of the questionable ones stay up here. Wilson's going to be dependent on the injury because I'm very high on Wilson this year. I think he's played really well. Obviously, this last game was abysmal, but their whole team played abysmal, and you're not going to play the Broncos D every week, so...
I just want to give a quick hell yeah shout out to somebody who's a couple further points down. If you just scroll just a little bit. Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay, right there. I am not going to go with the homer pick of Drake London, who had a great game. I do think he is a hell yeah. But Jalen Waddle without Tyreek Hill is a hell yeah for me.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly, I think you're going to see a top 12 points per game average from here on out. Click on him really quick. Just look what he's done in 2 weeks without Hill. I know it hasn't necessarily been, groundbreaking, but 17-9.
Look at the yardage, man. Just look at the yardage.
17-9, and if we go back to what is the top 10 on the points per game average, what's the cutoff looking like? I'd imagine somewhere around, I think we looked at this, it's 10.2 points per game as a top 12 wide receiver. So in our league, I think you're looking at wide receiver 1 player for the rest of the year, and I hate saying that because he's on Mitch's roster, and when you got him off waivers, I was a little bitter because I think he's that good without Tyreek Hill. This is a guy who's been top 12 multiple years without Tyreek Hill. So this is a huge hell yeah. If you have Waddle in any league for the rest of the year, you start him. I'm starting him in our league, Alex, that we have together over Brian Thomas, over Marvin Harrison. I started him over Jamar Chase with Jake Browning. I am starting Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, when Chris dropped him, remember Tyreek Hill was still healthy, so I got a little lucky that when I picked up Waddle, the next week Tyreek Hill gets hurt. But at the same time, that just means that Zay Flowers going to the bench. Who's the three? Rice, Waddle, Zay. Start two, bench one.
Rice and Waddle for the
Why am
rest
I
of
going
the
to help
year.
you out here, bro?
So the Zay trade basically, then yeah, all right, sounds good.
No, but no,
Thanks, Chris, for dropping
I'm
Waddle.
100. Like Waddle is a set and forget for me for sure. I'm definitely starting Waddle.
Yeah,
I would wait a week on Rice.
I
But
can't. Zay's on a bye, but
well,
thanks.
Zay's on a bye. So I mean, well then I don't have a choice.
So yeah, he's averaging 13 points per game since Tyreek's been out. He's not going to continue that, but that would put him at wide receiver 5 on a points per game average. So if he can continue that, man,
What about Nico?
they got to figure their offense out. I'm still a hell yeah on him. I think it's
I'm an F now. No, he ain't it. Well, it's not his fault,
Wow.
I don't know if I have an answer for this one. I'm so confused on him. I don't know what to decide.
but they just can't seem to get their offense figured out. And I mean, even against like, look at the Baltimore stat line. That's the first game their offense was firing. Like they dropped like 40 something points, and look at his stat line. He wasn't their main guy in their best
Yeah.
game of the season.
He's getting doubled a lot. It's tough. Oh, what about one guy? I was high on Bryce Young. I wasn't sure on which wide receiver because I was afraid of Leggett, but Tyrell McMillan, that's another one. If you want to point out a guy that I think will slowly keep climbing his way up, I think Tyrell McMillan will keep going.
Yeah, that's
Hell
a tough
yeah.
one for me because I was so high on him going into the season, but like his stat line just hasn't been there. Like he's getting the targets, but
Yeah.
like look at the catch rates. Like, and I don't think that's his fault. I think it's more Bryce Young, but like
For
I don't
sure.
know. I'm worried about him. Like, yeah, he had 2 touchdowns and that's great against Dallas, but like he only had 5 targets against Dallas. Why is he not getting the ball target? Thrown his way. That's the least targets he's had all season. I can't figure it out. Like he's presumably in a good situation, but it's just not clicking the way I want it to yet.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I'm gonna have to go hell now on them on Tet, even though I like him until that offense just breaks out a little bit more and he gets higher yardage totals. I'll take the 8 targets, but you got to break 100 more than once in a season. So we'll just kind of play it by ear.
Yeah, I mean, like after week 2, I was like so hyped, and then the next 3 weeks happened, and I'm like, what is going on here?
He's also only played 6 games as an NFL wide receiver, so I'm trying
Yeah,
to give
for
him a
sure.
little grace. Like, not everybody hits the ground running like Malik Neighbors did last year with what was his first game? Didn't he have like 16 catches, something crazy? Or 16 targets. But yeah, I'm gonna have to be a hell man until proven otherwise.
All right, boys and girls, let's move on then to the tight end spot.
There's gonna be a lot of hell no's in here.
I like how one of the top tight ends isn't even in rostered in our league.
And most of the tight ends weren't even rostered most of the whole year. It's been random.
Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one. For
Warren, I'll give you. I said after week 1, the Wade tunnel vision that was a big one in the Warren and Javante Williams are 2 guys I'm really kicking myself. Warren, Javante Williams, and Keenan Allen, but Jake Ferguson seems to definitely be a F, yeah, for sure. Goddard, hell nah. McBride, hell nah. I have no idea who Barner is.
Whoa, you're a
Hill-
hell no on Trey McBride?
I don't like what system did seems to have changed Murray's consistency. I don't. They're thinking about benching Murray, right? I don't know if those reports are over exaggerated or not, but like,
Well, just because Jacoby Brissett in his 1 game as a starter was a world beater compared to what Kyler Murray did. Like, they actually look like a good football team for once.
yeah, and if it's Jacoby Brissett going forward, that scares me even more. You can find me a bunch of tight ends on a bunch of other teams.
I mean, you
that
were
have
the
a-
guy last year talking about how they're going to bench Kyler, but they can't bench him because they're going to trade him, and then here we are a year later, and he's still their starter. So I take everything you say about Kyler Murray with a grain of salt. I trust your opinion on a lot of things, but Kyler Murray not so much.
Listen. This is definitely, I'm biased here, but Trey McBride is wide receiver 4 on this list, and you just hell yeah Ferguson, who also has Lamb coming back. Pickens is the number 1 wide receiver, and McBride has 2 more targets, 7 less catches, 50 more yards, 2 less touchdowns. Like,
and now no Marvin Harrison for a couple.
The
of
gap
weeks.
is not that big. Like he's just not getting the touchdowns.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going based off. That's exactly right. I'm going off potential for the rest of the year that the Cardinals are probably going to score over 200 less points as an offense than the Cowboys, and it's just that's why I'm a hell yeah on Ferguson and no on McBride. I don't want to tight end on any team that's going to score 30 or 60 touchdowns on the year, 55 or whatever offensive touchdowns. Like that's not a tight end I want on that team, regardless of the name. That's all I meant. And McBride's a great individual player. I just meant for fantasy right now.
Yeah. So for me, there's like I think most of these guys kind of stay here. There's 3 hell no's on this list for me. The first is AJ Barner. Obviously, he's not even rostered. The reason for that is he has a 17-point game, and then other than that, look at this: 0, 8. 297. Well, the 8297 seemed decent. Yeah, but on 2 of those games, he had a touchdown. Look at the target share: 2, 3, 1, 3, 7, 3. Like, well, 7 is good. This is that shootout with Tampa Bay where they both threw for 400 yards each. That's not going to happen every week. So he's getting, on average, under 3 targets a game, if you don't count that one abomination of a game. And he's only had 1 game where he did good receiving yards wise. So I think he's going to fall off. I think Dalton Kincaid's going to fall off because, like, come on, where's this coming from? How did Dalton Kincaid even make this list? What's happening? I think he's going to fall off.
What?
And then...
Wow.
Dalton Kincaid...
I'm a hell yeah on Dalton Kincaid.
Dalton Kincaid is a guy that, like, every year is like, okay, this is the year that he makes that step. This is the year he makes that step. And it just never happens. So I don't know. I'm not sold on it for Dalton Kincaid. I could be wrong, but I'm just not sold on it. And then my third... is Jake Tongas. I mean, Jake Tongas has been solid, don't get me wrong, but like Kittle comes back eventually, and when Kittle comes back, Tongas value tanks.
Okay, so I think the way that we can tight end, I think, is the most variable spot. It's the hardest thing to pick 12. So if you look at this list for the rest of the year, who are your 12?
I mean,
there's 5 guys in the top 12
3,
that I would pick.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think Darren Waller at 9, Zach Ertz 10, and then 11 I have Brock Bowers, assuming he comes back and plays this year. Obviously, that's a big assumption.
Yeah.
And then 12 I have whichever Browns tight end establishes himself as the guy, which with the current injury to David Njoku, I decided to go with.
So you don't have Kincaid on that top 12?
I do not.
He's the highest or second highest.
I said hell no. I mean, in order for him to be a hell no, he can't be in my top 12.
Yeah,
right?
no, I know. That's why I was just curious.
I also didn't account for Kittle coming back. Yeah, so number 12 could also be Kittle depending on when he comes back. So
yeah, interesting.
So yeah, one of those spots is Kittle or Bowers, depending on which one of them comes back and plays football.
And you like Goddard in that top 12 as well?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Eagles have been terrible. The one guy who hasn't been terrible is Dallas Goedert. So, you know, like keep in mind he's number 1 fantasy tight end and he even missed a week, right?
Yeah, 5 touchdowns though.
It is 5 touchdowns, but look at the target share of the last couple of weeks: 9, 11. Yeah. Like, what they realize they can't run the football. We have to pass, and when they have to pass, who are they passing to? Dallas Goedert.
How about this? This is now looking back at his career. What do you think Dallas Goedert's career high for season touchdowns are without looking?
3, because you're asking the question.
Yeah, no, actually in 2019 he did have 5. Every other year he's gone 4, 5, 3, 4, 3, 3, 2. Going oldest to most recent. So he has already matched his career high. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about Goddard because I agree.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a big target guy, and I just think that even though Kincaid has less targets than him now, even though Kincaid has higher targets than maybe some of the guys around him on this list, not many though. I think Tucker Kraft's only 1. Yeah, I'm a big target guy. Kincaid has 24 targets. If you don't count Barner, who I said was going to fall, that is less targets than everyone else on this list except for Tucker Kraft.
If you're a big target guy, click the target list. So you would have Juwan
1, 2,
Johnson,
3, 4, 5,
Njoku.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, he's not on the list anymore.
That's what I'm saying. He's got way more fantasy points than a lot of those guys who have higher targets.
Right. I said I was a big target guy. I didn't say it was the only metric.
Oh, well,
David
what I'm saying is
David
that-
Njoku is injured, so I said that I'd rather have Harold Fannin, which I don't want both Browns tight ends. I had Harold Fannin on my list, who's higher in targets than Njoku. That tracks. I said Tongas would fall because Kittle would come back, so it's not a knock on Tongas, it's because Kittle's going to come back. So the only one who's on the target list that wasn't on my list is Juwan Johnson, and that's because I'm about what you've done for me lately. So if you look at his target share over the last few weeks, he went 11, 9, 8, 3, 4, 2. So his target share has plummeted. If it was just based on, if this was like an average, and on average he was getting 6 targets a game, then yes, I'd still have him up here. But it's because even though he has 37 targets, that 37 targets is front loaded with 25 of them being in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is, so wouldn't that say if he just gets some more targets on the number one Bills offense, that he would have the most upside? Isn't he the number 2? All right, yeah, no.
Yes, if he got more targets, but he doesn't. That was my whole argument. Like, look how far I have to scroll to find this guy.
He's number 2 fantasy tight end. You don't have to scroll very far
To find him based on targets, I said my argument was based on targets. You said fine,
Yes.
sort by targets, and I did, and this proves my point. I don't like a guy who doesn't get the ball thrown to him. That's just, I don't like that. That's not how
we definitely don't want to spiral into another AJ Brown
No,
moment.
but like, just perfect example. Brock Bowers has more targets than him. Brock Bowers has not played since, he hadn't played in the last 2 games. And he has more targets.
Yeah, I think I think the tight end position is super difficult. For me, it's like a hell yeah, it has to be. There's always like a top 6, right? Everybody else is kind of like, oh crap,
So here's a question we haven't addressed because he wasn't quite, top 12. Darren Waller, what do you guys think of that? Because he's a guy who his snap count has gone up every single week, but he's also drawn end zone every single week, and the targets aren't necessarily there. But he's in the Jonnu Smith role, and Jonnu Smith was a baller last year on this team.
I cannot, in good faith, trust Darren Waller ever again. So y'all can have him. He could score 14 points probably 2 more weeks in a row, and I'm still not picking him up.
I mean, it's very TD dependent. Most of the tight ends are not getting their points from yards, and we get no points per reception. So anyone who's a red zone threat like that is going to be a top 12 fantasy tight end in our league. And it's like, I don't even if he gets 8 TDs, I think that could put him up there.
Yeah.
So I would hate to be out on someone who gets all the red zone attention. I know depending on Tyreek Hill's injury for sure, but just anyone in this league that's getting that much red zone attention should be you should be thought highly of.
He's just really it's tight end just sucks so bad because
Agreed.
Mitch, like you've rolled the Mark Andrews train a couple years in a row, like
Laporta.
In Laporta, you want that guy that even on a bad week might still get you 4 or 5 points because they got the yards, right?
Agreed.
These TD dependent dudes are just so brutal because they might get you 10, but then they're gonna have weeks where they get you 1, 2, 0, and you've lost that spot by possibly 10 points, and you're like, oh my god. So you have to roll it. It's like the Taysom Hill from like 2 years ago, and you're like, do I start him every week? And if you did, he probably would have single-handedly won you 3 or 4 games, but then he might have lost you 3 or 4 games as well with 0-point duds. So
If I had to ask you the top 4 tight ends right now in yards per game, who would you say?
yards per game.
Just guessing, like I'm gonna put on a different screen to guess. I would guess Tyler Warren,
McBride, Ferguson.
Tyler Warren. If it's just yards per game played, Brock Bowers. Oh man,
So you've got 1, 2, and 4. You've got Warren at 1. You've got McBride at 2. You've got Bowers at 4. But who's third?
Yeah, I had a name I wanted to say, and like now
It's the guy you have out of the top 12.
Okay, it's Dalton Kincaid. I mean, yeah, I knew that was going to be. I don't
He
understand
has
why you do this. Like, you
0.4
ask for my opinion, then you get mad when it doesn't match yours. I'm sorry, Mitch. I can't believe you got Dalton Kincaid. Like,
I'm
like,
just shocked
I don't
that the
believe
guy
him.
is not
I don't
a
believe
top
in guys who
tight
don't get
end
the ball. I
top
just
in
don't.
yards.
I never have. I never will.
swear. And also,
I just love that.
difference
I
between-
thought we buried it. I thought we weren't going there.
No, you knew he was. No, Jake Ferguson was the one I was going to guess. Jake Ferguson. No, I knew as soon as he asked the question that his guy was going to be on the list. I get that. I get that you believe him, and that's totally cool. I just don't.
And by the way, the difference between 2 and 3 is 0.4 yards per game, so it's real close.
I don't believe in guys who don't get the ball thrown their way. Also, I don't like guys who are injured and missed. He missed last week due to injury. He's going to miss this week due to bye.
I was just having fun with it, and there was no anger.
It's only because he's on your team. That's what always gets me. It's like if this guy wasn't on Mitch's team, he wouldn't even care. But
That's not
because
true.
on his
He's
team,
Sounds like
Mitch
you're
if,
feels
no,
personally
if he
attacked.
wasn't on my team, I wouldn't know his individual stats as well as I do. That's the point. Is I know he was top like 1 or 2 in yards per game and Vinny was just like, you want the guy who gets the 40 yards per game. Well, he's third. That's all I was. It wasn't like a setup stat. Vinny brought up that you want the guy to get 40 yards on his bad days, right?
I want guys who get the ball thrown their direction.
Gotcha. Yeah.
'Cause
I
the
was
more
going off of
opportunities
Vinny's
you
comment.
get, the more you can do with those opportunities.
So that was a response to Vinny's comment, not anything to do, I guess, with you. He said you wanted the guy at the 40 yards a game. And I honestly, and going back now and looking at it, I brought up the stat and I was talking bad on McBride. I had no idea McBride was 2. So
Yeah,
that goes
I was
against-
surprised you had the fact. Yeah, this is such a more egregious take than mine that you have McBride out dropping. Like what?
Mine's based off the offense and it's the same consistency as Murray in the offense, whereas Kincaid's got Allen in that offense. That's all I meant. Was in a TD dependent league when you don't get the points per reception, targets doesn't necessarily mean as much because like Juwan Johnson would be a lot higher in our league with his 11 targets and 8 receptions a week, but he's so low in our league because of the TD dependent I guess necessity. That's all I was trying. I wasn't.
All right, let's
trying
move on to kicker.
that.
It's everyone's
I
favorite
get that-
position.
I get
we're
that
gonna spend the
argument,
next
but-
hour discussing kickers, guys. No, I'm just
Trey,
kidding.
Trey McBride had 2 touchdowns last year and was tight end 3. So it's like
That's pretty impressive with Murray the whole year. Yeah.
he had 1,100 yards. He was
He's-
tight end 3.
I might be underestimating McBride. I just looked at that list and I saw McBride's name and the Cardinals' state of mind came to me and I wasn't a fan of it. But McBride's McBride's definitely gonna still be top 8 for sure.
You know what I'm not a
So-
fan of? Getting pied in the face when you have the third highest points per game player in the league because you bet him against freaking Jonathan Taylor.
Alex, that reminds me so much. If you want to go to the Vinny and I's bet with Wilson and Metcalf, when we made in the spirit of the bet, if we always talk about that, or I do, whatever. When I made this bet, I did not think they were going to be 8 and 11 overall. I did not think Darren Wilson was going to be 8 and Metcalf was going to be 11. So I will take a pie regardless if Metcalf even beats Wilson.
And the
because-
fact that you tried to hedge it with, well, let's do McLaurin straight up, and I was like, oh, no way that Wilson beats both of those, and McLaurin's been out for like 4 games.
Well, unfortunately for you, Wilson's about to miss a game, so yeah, Metcalf's gonna pull ahead for sure.
Are we doing average? I forget. And anyways, it doesn't matter if we're doing average or total points on the year because in the spirit of it, Wilson, I deserve to be pied on Wilson. He is he is a much better player than, I mean, even though he's better than Metcalf right now, it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not the spirit of the bet.
Yeah, all I know is James Cook better keep stringing together a couple of these 4 and 8 point games because didn't we have him beating last
A
year?
couple pies. And Vinny owes another pie. And Vinny hey, what's the pie bet that Vinny's involved with the Sparks vs. Blacks? How does Vinny get pied in this situation?
No, I stayed out of that one this year.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I think last year is if we both got 2 people to the playoffs, he would get pied. But
Okay. All right. Well, that's just lets us know how he feels about his team. No
Yeah.
big deal.
So, but yeah, look at these top player lists. So like other than Bijan Robinson, who was the top 3 pick this year, bottom half, he was number
Middle.
4. Bottom half, not a first rounder, definitely not a first rounder.
Definitely. not.
So, yeah, you know,
Really, the only one we can really be mad at ourselves is maybe St. Brown. A lot of us probably had him too low than we should have.
I'm not allowed to complain about that anymore. Vinny made a meme out of it. So.
Oh, like if you tell people St. Brown won the 3rd round in our leagues, people would just be like, "So, like your league's a joke, right?" But you just gotta understand sometimes it's a miss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and I mean, our league is set up different. Like I said,
For sure.
we
Joking.
did the. Well, I ran the numbers. Like, if you don't draft running back first round, you were significantly less likely to win. Straight up.
For sure.
So I wanted to draft the top tier running back, and I did. So did you. You drafted RB1, I drafted RB3. So
Yeah, we have a bet between RB1 and 3. It's a little ridiculous.
in average points per game, not in actual points, because like obviously, some of these guys have had Bijan Robinson and Josh Jacobs both had buys already. So
Yeah, and I still think, Alex, even though I have a massive point lead right now, I still think you might win it because of Taylor's propensity
I mean,
to...
I will say your guy has played one more game than mine. So
Wait,
now,
Jacobs has had his bye.
Jacobs already had his bye. Now,
Oh,
granted,
that's a lot
I don't
closer
think he's
than I
going to
thought.
drop 35 to even it up in one game, but still.
Oh, yeah, this is a lot closer.
But
I'm
yeah,
going to
let's.
get pride over Taylor being like the number 3 overall running back. That's going to be great.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. As you guys can see, that's what's both fun and frustrating about fantasy football. Like, it's so cool when you're right about a player, especially when it's a later round pick. Like, I mean, obviously being right about your first round picks, whatever. But like when you hit on some of these later round guys, the George Pickens, the JSNs, the Javantes, when you hit, the Ibukas, when you hit the Scadaboo, I mean, Miles killed it, right, with Ibuka and Cam Scadaboo. Like, when you hit on those late round picks, like, that's awesome. That's what you love. But you also absolutely hate it when you make an early round pick and they absolutely flop. And, I don't know how far you got to scroll down to find, but like, well, not a flop, but like injuries kill you. IR, he hasn't played well and then he got injured. Brian Thomas is a good example. Like, this guy hadn't been injured, but just hadn't played well. I mean, he's started to play well now, so we'll see. But like, yeah, when Lad McConkey's of the world. So yeah, that's it's fun, frustrating, and everything else in between that starts with an F. That's fantasy football, guys. Any final thoughts? Speaking of F, any final thoughts for the episode before we go and wrap this up?
Who do you think are going to win the divisions? You don't have to say why. You don't have to go into their teams. You
Like
can
our divisions in our league.
And we're kind of like halfway through. We're like, I know 7-7 is halfway through, so like we're one game before halfway. But yeah, who's gonna pull it out the rest of the second half of the year?
Sure. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna take me because like I'm not gonna pick against me. That's dumb. So I'm gonna pick me to win. I mean, this one kind of feels like a 2-horse race. Although I will say, Sylvie started 0-3, since then has gone 3-0. So in our division, she struggled because our division is so strong. But when she got to play people from outside the division, like Mitch's team, she really got to pop off. So yeah, I'm going to pick me, obviously, with Matt being the wild card because I think our division's that good. But then we'll move to the integrity division. This was a lot harder because I loved Vinny's team coming out of the draft. And I thought Brake's team was great, other than the fact they had 2 wide receivers on the same team. Cameron's team, and I actually liked Miles' team. I thought Cameron's team was the worst team coming out of the draft, but he's leading this division right now. But that said, I will. I hate doing it, but I'm gonna take Vinny to get off the snide. That's tough. Mainly just because I don't think Brake will monitor his lineup the whole way through. But if he does, I think it's Brake. But if not, I'll go ahead and say Vinny. And then down here, I think this could be anybody. I think we all kind of thought Austin had the best team. And this week he finally showed that. So I will say Austin, assuming he's righted the ship. That's not a shot at you, Mitch. I just think we all kind of thought Austin had one of the best drafts, and it's finally coming together for him. So, yeah, I will say me, Vinny, Austin is the division winners. That's my pick here at the near halfway point. Vinny, what you got?
Until Matt's team decides that they don't want to average over 100 points a week, I can't bet against that. It's just too strong right now.
Yeah, but fantasy D matters. Let me point that out. Look at the fantasy D on my team.
Yeah. It's also statistics. So I'm gonna go with Matt taking that division, even though again it's anybody's division. He's on a 5-game.
Well, according to Matt, he's up a game on me, even though that's not how math works. But
yeah, I don't understand that. But yeah, go ahead and click it. What is it?
Did you send me a crappy trade offer? Yeah, I was like, I knew this had to be. Sorry, Pod. We gotta see the trade offers. I'll check it out later.
I've been waiting for that envelope to pop up. I sent it like an hour ago.
It didn't even. It disappeared. Okay.
Anyways, I'm gonna go Matt. In my division, I hate to say it, because I really do think I have a better team, but chasing a game and a half against Cam, who's gonna have Mahomes with Rice back. If Mahomes continues to be as good as he is, he's doing all this with Bucky Irving hurt. Like it. To have a 1.5 game lead is just the most infuriating thing, because it's just like he's won 3 in a row. He's winning the outside of league.
Yeah, but I mean, keep in mind you get to play him, right? So like it's really a half game lead. I know it's a game and a half, but like it's really only a half game lead because you play him.
But it just gives you less flexibility outside of division. So he's won 3 games outside of division on games where he maybe shouldn't have won a couple of them. I have to take Cam to win the division just based on the lead he has, and I need to continue to overperform. I'm with you on the intelligence division. I actually, and this is no offense to Mitch, because I know that you have Lamar hurt. It all depends on when Lamar comes back. This is one of those that if you guys are all tied going into like next week, let's say your entire division wins and you lose, Mitch, man, there's just too many good players in that division to figure out who comes out on top. It's really tough. I might go with Austin just because he's dropped over 100 points 2 games in a row. He's averaging almost 100 points per game and somehow is 2-4. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Austin for now.
Yeah, and I will say, like, for my division, I think it's a 2-team race. I think it's between me and Matt. Now, again, Luis made a 3-game comeback and overtook me last year, which I'll never live down. But when you look at points for as well as record, I think it's like division record. I think this is a 2-horse race between me and Matt. I think the integrity division is a 3-horse race. No shade against Miles. He's been unlucky. I think he drafted a good team. He just hasn't really worked out for him. So I think this is a 3-horse race. It wouldn't surprise me if any of these 3 teams win. And this, I think, is a 4-horse race. I would not be surprised if any of these 4 teams won the division. So while I did make my picks, I will say that I think the intelligence division is the one that's the most wide open right now. And then, Mitch, what about you? You got to answer your own question, bud.
I think your division is a lot more wide open than people will admit. I think there's a couple teams that might be overachieving in the intensity division right now, and I think that one's wide open. But I will, and I really there's a part of me that really wants to pick Luis, and I'm not even trolling, but I'll go with Matt. And then the other division, it is also. I think Cameron, if he can just follow his team, Henry can only go up, blah blah. And then in the bottom
he literally
one,
started a player this week that didn't play due to injury. And
that's what I'm saying. Is
it was known.
Cameron's the most
It was known
efficient.
on Saturday he wasn't playing. It wasn't like a game time decision.
Miles seems to have some issues. Adam, his issues are just maintaining throughout the year. Vinny's team is very good. That's a 2-horse race in my opinion this year, more than anyone else, more than any other division. And then my division, I think Nolan's got the best chance of being the most consistent. I truly do. I think with that roster and that lineup, a lot of times I've always been a big component, a believer in you don't need to score 156 points and then 60 next week. You just need to score 90 every week, 88 or whatever. I know Vinny's done the stats and everything. I think Nolan has the best chance of scoring the average.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at points for, with the exception of Matt and Austin, who are just running away with it, the rest of the teams in playoff contention are within 18 points of one another, ranging from like 515 to 533. Like they're all kind of right there. Like I'm not talking about the people in the 400s, obviously, but if you look at like all the teams in playoff contention, there's 2 teams that are running away with it for points for, and everyone else is with it. That's one player, 18 points. That's any one player, right? Like that. That's how close all the points for is this year. So we'll see. Yeah, and part of the reason that you said some teams overachieving, whatever. I mean, Sylvie's on this great 3-game win streak, but she started division play 0-3. I think it's gonna be a really hard hole to crawl out of.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
tough.
and then Luis is currently at the again. Anything can happen, but he's currently 3 games back, and he's got to play without Josh Allen this week. Which historically speaking, when you build a team around Josh Allen doesn't play, you lose on his bye week. So
For sure. If he could just hold enough wins, though, he's 2-1 against the division against you and Matt. That's impressive to go 2-1 in that division. As long as you have Josh Allen, you can beat a Chaos or a Sharks team on any given week. That's the only reason why.
well, he couldn't beat the Sharks team, but he beat the Chaos team. But I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying like he's currently 3 games back. And
Yeah, that's tough.
like I don't know who he's playing, so like there's obviously matchups and other buys, but like historically speaking, people that take
For
QB
sure.
early, when that QB has a bye, they lose that week because a lot of their value they miss on some of the core value, right? So this week he has Josh Allen on a bye, so I don't even, and we had talked about earlier, he didn't have a backup QB on his team right now, right? So like this is a guy that I think might have a difficult week. I think one of the things that have been bolstering his team lately is that Rachaad White has been a baller. Like I think when Bucky Irving comes back, he has to go back to Brees, which Brees
That
hasn't
is
looked great the
true.
last couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
he has to go back with
So
Brees
we'll see.
Hall.
Like, look, anything can happen. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, I don't know who's playing this week, but you feel like with Josh Allen out, there's a strong chance you lose the week that Josh Allen doesn't play, and that
For
puts him 4 games back with only 7 games to play. That's a tough hill to climb. Oh, let me see. A player who is doubtful, and Roma Dunze, who I've already talked about, I think is going to fall for CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer it, even if it might have been a week late, just as a joke because we were talking about it.
Yeah,
That's not a terrible trade.
I actually
Right,
offered
but-
it to you after you said that you didn't think that CD was going to usurp Pickens, and I did.
I mean, yeah, Mitch, but with the context of this episode where I said that Garrett Wilson is injured and not going to play next week, and I think Roma Dunze is going to fall. Like, he picked the wrong time to make that offer.
We could do McLaurin. I heard he's in for a trade. But I just want to say, like, last thing about the division. The hardest part about your division, Mitch, and it's not that I don't think you have a team that can win it. It's that when I look at all 4 of your teams, the rosters in your division, I think that all 4 of those teams not only can just win the division, but can win the Super Bowl. And so,
For sure.
it's when you look at it that way, it's like Austin, Matt versus Alex. It's gonna, in my opinion, it's gonna be one of those 2. For yours, I'm like, I don't know who. It's like all of you are gonna have lower playoff odds because you guys are gonna beat up on each other. I don't think you guys are gonna get the wild card this year. You have to win your division, and all 4 of those teams are very, very good.
Yeah, I think
despite record,
we came out of the draft.
So you're
feeling
already
like,
basically giving the wild card to Matt or Alex?
no,
Yeah.
not necessarily. Just if you look at the overall standings, like the fact that your division is a bunch of guys at 2 and 4, right? So they're 3 games back of the wild card from either me or Matt, and they're a game back of the wild card from either Vinny or Drake. So like everyone in your division is already like behind in a wild card race. Right.
And then you guys, at least those teams are all, somebody in that is all guaranteed another loss within division. So you're looking at minimum 5 losses. So you would need a 8-6 team to make the wild card theoretically.
Yeah, it's a little tough.
Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it up there, guys. Episode ran a little long, but hopefully everyone enjoyed it anyway. We talked about a lot of stuff, and yeah, any final thoughts before we wrap it up here?
No, good news. I have a month off of work, so I will be playing a lot of golf and hanging outside a lot. So,
I mean, I know a lake you could come visit. Just saying, just throwing that out
possible. There. I haven't ruled anything out yet, Alex.
Well, I'm being very serious. Anywho, and that goes to any of our current listeners as well. Future listeners, that offer's probably not on the table, but I know most of the current listeners, that offers for you guys as well. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for being with us. And again, big shout out to our new sponsor. Give it up for the Golshani Lee LLP law firm. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
So they specialize in injuries, business litigation, as well as one other thing that I already forgot. I do apologize. But yeah, they specialize in pretty much anything that you need with regards to getting... insurance. That's what it was. And insurance claims. So yeah, if you need help, hit them up. All right. Peace. We out of here. Say goodbye, fellas.
See ya.
Peace.